Greetings, family. I told you I was going to be back. It's a little after 10, but I, had things to do. So I am back. I am done with that client. I'm going to do our conspiracy to right all wrongs first. And then we're going to get right down to business. Okay. Yeah. Okay. We are the breakers of curses, the casters of glorious conspiracies, and the creators of the new world. I, Cassandra-Floyd, am a divine instrument of my mother's divine will. As such, I am protected and guided by the sacred blood and water of my mother, Jacqueline Jeanette Cook's body that anointed my entry into this life. I am divine because she is divine. Mommy and I are one. I call all of our mothers to this moment. I call on they who govern everything, all time and all and every space in between. She with 10,000 names. Today it is Oya, Yamaya, Oshun, Iyami Ajay, the divine architects of existence, usheresses of the new age. Mommy and I are one. I call upon all the divine ancestors and the Ashe of every mother on earth to break every curse ever cast upon the mother and her children in all timelines and in every dimension. Mommy and I are one. We, the mother's divine children, conspire together today to forever bind those who have or would harm you, great mother. Mommy and I are one. We conspire together today to destroy everything and everyone in every timeline and dimension that has caused suffering and despair. Mommy and I are one. We conspire, today we embody the sacred and divine power of our mothers. Today, we the tree, we the weavers rewrite all time. Today, we the tree, we the weavers rewrite the book of life. Today, we, our mother's children, call the winds of change. We conjure the primordial dark. We summon the sacred serpent from deep within the earth. We subdue the rogue sun. We control the light. We heal the harm. We embolden the fearful, and we instill courageous action. Today, we are staging a global evolution as is our mother's divine will. We, the architects of the new age, now create the new institutions, the new traditions, the new culture, the new ways of being. We ecstatically welcome the radical destruction of all institutions of hate and harm erected by the godheads of war. Mommy and I are one. We have the power. We have the voice. We are the portals of change. Now we employ our sacred breath, and we give life and sacred blood to this conspiracy. Mommy and I are one. We command, come the wind, come the storm, come the lightning, capture and judge all godheads of war and all betrayers of the mother's divine will. Bring their confusion and war to an immediate end and scatter them to oblivion, never to be resurrected. We are the fates, we are the furies, we are the Iyami Ajay. We are the disseminators of divine time, divine retribution, divine rectification, and evolutionary justice. We are the restorers of heaven on earth under the mother's divine reign. We wake the sacred serpent from her sleep to assist us in this sacred assignment. Love unlimited is our birthright. Harmony is our birthright. Ecstasy is our birthright. Pleasure is our birthright. Freedom is our birthright. This is her divine will. We are the executors of her divine will. We speak her will into the now to reverberate throughout all time, all space, and all dimensions. It is certainly as we say, forever and ever. Mommy and I are one. Mommy and I are one. Mommy and I are one. Greetings, S. Taylor. Thank you. I won't believe I only paid $5 for it. Got it at a secondhand store. It's a little rare find. You feel me? Anyway, I thought I would spring it on y'all. Ram. Anyway, so I got a lot to talk to y'all about today. I think I might close the store. I got a lot to talk to y'all about today. I'm gonna leave the camera just like that since I got this little find I want to show off today. You feel me? What's up, QB? All right. So I have a couple of things I want to do tonight. One, hey, LYM Chic, how you doing? Ew, ew, ew. You feel me? Anyway, so I'm going to do a temple reading. It's been a long time since I did a reading for the Temple of Evolutionary Emergence. Last week, I did pull, or earlier this week, I think, I pulled the card for the temple. No, I didn't pull it for the temple. I pulled it for a client, but the card was so dope, I shared it with y'all. But today, I actually did a pull for the temple, which has been the first in some time. And I pulled both from my new Kali Oracle, which I'm obsessed with, and also from our traditional medicine woman inner guidebook. You feel me? Thank you. Ram. Y'all the first to see it. I just got it at a secondhand store the other day. Okay, let's see. Okay. Everybody in the house. FG, Apothecary, Save Our Trees, QB, LYM Chick. Let's see who else up on there. It's Taylor. Cool. Okay. So, all right. So I pulled the cords. I'm gonna do that first. I'm gonna do the card pull. I've already pulled the cards. I'm gonna do the card read first. Then I'm gonna get into some things. Y'all tripping. Y'all tripping out about my little crown. Okay. Anyway. All right. So let's do the Kali Oracle first. So I'm going to show y'all that card, which is lovely. And then I'm going to read the card to you because it's a new Oracle. So I haven't had the time to really just like, you know what I'm saying? So I'm just going to read it straight to you. And then if you are interested, just like the last card I pulled for y'all, if you're interested in, because each one of these cards comes with like a ritual meditation. If you're interested in the meditation and the card, I'll take a picture of it. And I take a picture of the meditation and I will email it to you so you can have it for a few days. Okay. So the card for this evening, which is quite beautiful, is the Blue Tara. The Blue Tara. It's quite gorgeous. The Blue Tara. Okay. So for those who have not been privy, this is, I'm pulling from the Kali Oracle deck by Alana Fairchild. It is quite gorgeous. The whole deck is just different personifications of Kali. I love this deck. I'm obsessed. Anyway, the Blue Tara. Sweet Mother of Peace now bestows her gifts of clarity, peace, and the power to overcome any negative condition. Just as the beautiful lotus grows from the muddied waters, so too shall you arise from confusion, difficult circumstances, and heavy energies into sacred blossoming. If you feel held back or slowed down by your circumstances, remember that your soul has the ability to process all experiences and become stronger, not weaker, through doing so. The oracle indicates healing and a positive prediction for a peaceful future. That is like the little overview, the message of the card. Second of the Mahavidya wisdom goddesses is the goddess Tara, represented by her many colors. Tara manifests in unlimited forms to accomplish whatever task is required to support the spiritual liberation of all beings. Tara can be Swamya, gentle, kind, and comforting like the moon. She can be Ugra Tara, fierce defender against extreme negativities, wrathful and fearsome. Her multiple forms remind us of the unending resourcefulness of the Divine Mother. It is taught that Tara will manifest in whatever form is required for the protection and spiritual aspirants. Tara is the Divine Mother's enlightened activity. Sometimes we subconsciously switch off from divine assistance by limiting what we think is possible for spiritual energy to influence and manifest. Oh my Goodness gracious, do I have a testimony for y'all today, child? Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. The Oracle asks you, thank you for the donation, Sage Page. The Oracle asks you to challenge such spirit-limiting beliefs to empower divine assistance in your life. Tibetan Buddhist doctrine teaches that Tara loves us all as her one child. Tara loves us all as her one child. Wow. There is a significance to this that is freeing. In the realm of ego, we see ourselves and others as either allied or at war. Oh my God, listen. Man. Child, let me tell y'all about today, child. Let me tell y'all about today. I got a testimony for y'all, child. I got a testimony for y'all, child. And I cannot believe this card at this moment because I got a testimony for y'all today. Yep, just since I left the house a couple hours ago. Damn. The ego thinks you are either with me or against. I cannot. I can't. What the hell? Man. Man. Ugh. God. Ugh. God damn. Ugh. Child, hold on, let me take a note. God damn. Oh my God. Okay. Damn. Okay. Man. Seriously. Man, the ego thinks you are either with me or against me, and battle in. I can't. This fucking card. Man. Oh God. Oh, listen. The ego thinks you are either with me or against me, and battle ensues. For the peace-loving heart, there is no joy in such a way of being. It creates anxiety. Man, I didn't read. I literally just pulled this card right before I got up on here, so I've never read the card, and I'm having a whole goddamn moment. Y'all are not going to believe this motherfucking moment that I am having. Okay. What time did I leave up out of here? I left out of here at 10 till 6. Was there for 2 hours and just came back home. How I got a testimony that quick? Just trying to tell you. Let's see. For the peace-loving heart, there is no joy in such a way of being. It creates anxiety, distress, and fear, which steals the power, love, and hopefulness from the heart. When we acknowledge that Tara loves us all as her one child rather than as her many children, it gives us permission to receive fully without guilt. Oh my God. It gives us leave to not lose faith if another appears to be unjustly gaining the upper hand, because we can remember in our hearts that we are all loved and treasured equally. No matter what appears to be, there is no such thing as privilege at a spiritual level. We are all in this together, and what happens within the one affects us all. I can't. I can't. We can only grow, heal, and awaken together in entirety, excuse me. There will be some who have the capacity to move ahead of the curve. They will be supported in doing so. Yet they are no more important than, yes, they are no more important than those struggling to find the path. This does not mean that those with more advanced capabilities should martyr themselves to the lower frequency of their spiritual brothers and sisters or give up attempting to make individual progress. The more progress we make on our spiritual journey, the more benefit we ultimately bring to the collective because we are all connected. You cannot choose who will be able to acknowledge and support your spiritual path, nor how the benefits will reach others. Some will be able to receive a direct and immediate benefit. Others will not have the capacity. Yet even if they and you cannot see how they benefit as you make progress on your spiritual path, you can assume it is happening nonetheless. Blue skin Tara represents the element of spaciousness. Creating space in our lives opens us up to grace. You can only receive what you create room. I am through. Listen, I'm through. I'm through. I am through. Ooh, I cannot believe this day. Child, I'm too through. Ooh, y'all won't. Yo, I can't. Listen, I do not. Oh my goodness. You can only receive what you create room for. Blue Tar reminds us continually, clear the way for grace. Clear the way for grace. Clear the way for grace, child. Clear the way for grace. Clear the way for grace, child. Clear the... That can require letting go of mental changing. Let's see. Oh, mental clinging and emotional distress, and becoming open to positive outcomes, no matter how unlikely or inaccessible they may sometimes seem to be. We do not accomplish this by denying or ignoring thoughts and feelings, but by practicing reassurance and dropping into trust. Child, dropping into trust. It is a spiritual art. Sometimes it will be easier to practice than other times. Yet in shifting from distrust to trust again and again, yet in shifting from distrust to trust again and again, we learn the pattern. Come on in the room. We learn to drop from our head into our hearts. What in that absolute? We learn to empower Tara's grace in our lives for the spiritual benefit of all beings. Unlike Kali's wild and free hair, Tara is carefully coiled. Kara's hair is carefully coiled. This represents her gift of gently taming the wild spirit and providing us with careful, patient, and loving steps to being ourselves back to peace. Let's see. Patient and loving steps to bring ourselves back to peace and empowerment. If you have been feeling out of control of yourself or situations you have felt incapable of positively influencing, the Oracle Blue Tara brings comfort. Chaos will give way to the correct higher order of love. Let there be peace in your heart as she looks to her right, gazing towards the future. The gift of this oracle is a prediction of a peaceful, protected, and authentically expressive future drawing close to you now. You have every right to feel helpful. You have every right to feel hopeful, happy, and secure in your future destiny unfolding. The invocation ritual is Tara. Let's see. Tara Samsara Tarini, Samsara Tarini. She who leads, man, where my glasses at? Where they at? Oh, here they are. Hold on. Yeah. Let's see. Tada Samsara Tarini, she who leads us beyond suffering. May your love, wisdom, and grace manifest fully and completely through my heart for the spiritual benefit of all beings. I offer up all my concerns to you now with complete confidence in your swiftness, practicality, resourcefulness, and creative healing genius. With an open and trusting heart, I invite you to manifest as you wish within me and in my life. Ja ma tare jama. Place your hands in prayer before your heart. You are now going to form the lotus mudra in front of your heart. You do this by keeping the base of your palms, your thumbs, and little fingers touching, while you fan out the rest of your fingers, creating a bowl or lotus shape. Imagine imagine a lotus or bowl being filled with divine nectar pouring in from Tara's heart. Repeat the following short mantra: Om Tare Om Tare Soham. Om Tare Soham. Om Tare Soham. Feel Tara's presence expanding and growing within your heart. As you do so, shining in all directions and through all dimensions for the spiritual benefit of all beings. When you are ready, place your hands in prayer and bow your head. You have completed your healing. That was great. That was great. I'll leave the card out in the event that anybody on here wants me to send a picture and a copy of the mantra for blue Tata. All right, so now we're gonna go. I did a 3-card pull, but I'm gonna try to keep it super concise. I did a 3-card pull from our standard deck, which is the Medicine Woman Inner Guidebook, and I'm gonna tell you, I feel a way about this pull. I feel a way about this pull. As soon as I pulled the first card, I was like, okay, well, we in here. Okay. The first card, which is, I keep telling y'all, one of my favorite cards in this deck. So I only did 3 cards. We have 1 major arcana and 2 minor arcana. The 2 minor arcana are stones cards. Now in this suit, if you will, in this deck, the suit of stones is the equivalent of the suit of the pentacles or the coins in the traditional deck. So the first card that I pulled from that is a stones card is the Totem of Stones, otherwise known as the snakes, the crawlers. This is what fell literally right before I got up on here to read to y'all. The snakes, the crawlers. This is one of my favorite cards. Yeah, the glare, man, the glare. Hold on, let me see. Let's try it this way. Let's try it that way for a time. There we go. There we go. Okay, cool. The snakes, the crawlers. The snakes, the crawlers. So you see all the little creatures in between the stones? You see how you have your serpent Ouroboros circling around the picture? See how you have the little plant busting through the surface? You feel me? Look at all that going on up in there. I love this card. Okay. So, the snakes, the crawlers. I'm going to read this card to you because I love this card. And then we'll talk about the card. Because I've talked about this card with y'all for a while, but I recognize there are new people up on the card who may not have heard it when I was doing polls for the temple much more regularly. So each minor arcana is preceded by a prayer and then the message or the lesson of the card. So I'll read the prayer first, then we'll talk about the card. Though my trade may seem humble to many, I am skilled in inner ways. My job may not appear to change the world, but in my consciousness, every movement of my hand, every movement of my hand corrects a wrong. If I turn a potter's wheel, I turn the earth and visualize the healing of the whole planet. If I swing a hammer, I nail a thought of God to someone's house and bestow blessings on each room. When I plant a tree, I put in the hole my power to grow beneath it, making it strong and making me free. I look like your ordinary worker, but I am learning a higher trade. I am in the school of sacred studies, and all life is a lesson to me. Mother Earth is my professor. Father Sun is my guide. My work I do for these who sustain me. Humbly, I carry on through the destiny of Earth's materiality. Mother, matter. You are the expression of all love embodied. Whoop. Listen, I love this card. Yes, baby. Yes, QB. What did I just spend the last 2 days telling y'all? Today and then the day before yesterday. I love this card. My job may not appear to change the world, but in my consciousness, every movement of my hand corrects a wrong. Corrects a wrong. Oof. The lesson for the card. You are a keeper of the planet. Study the creatures that crawl the earth, turning the dirt into soil, composting waste. Y'all, listen, let me tell y'all about this motherfucking testimony. Let me write the date down in this book. Hold on. Let me tell you about this. Woo, child, God damn. You, oh my God. Listen, you are a keeper of the planet. Study the creatures that call the earth, turning dirt into soil, composting waste, the smallest life forms, the tiniest crawlers. You want to go outside, Nine? You want to go outside, buddy? Come on, boy. Okay, child, I'm babysitting the cat. Let's go, boy. Come on, boy. Come on, boy. Come on, boy. You want to go outside? Yeah, you want to go outside? Go here, boy. If I didn't think about it until he walked out the door, but if he comes back before I get up off of here, I need to pick him up and show him to y'all. This cat is so fine. He is beautiful. He looks like a little miniature leopard. He is brown, like brown with brilliant black polka dots all over his body. And his name is Nine. I didn't name him that. That's his daddy named him that. His daddy is one of the people who had been pretty much made homeless by the fires. So he's been like all over the place. He asked me a couple of weeks ago, will I be his surrogate mama until he can pull his life together? You want to come back in, boy? You so sometime. Hold on just a second. Come here, boy. So you going? You staying or something, boy? Nah. Come on, boy. I said, Kevin, why you name that cat that? I said, Kevin, why you name that cat that? He was like, I don't know. It just came to me. The cat's name is Nine. Like, what are the odds? Anyway, so I'm his little surrogate mama for the time being. He fine. His little baby heart. Anyway, you're a keeper of the planet. Study the creatures that crawl the earth, turning the dirt into soil, composting waste. The smallest life forms, the tiniest crawlers, are necessary. Excuse me. Sorry, I mean scary, buddy. Are necessary to break down the larger forms that are no longer needed. Disintegration, death, and transformation are a part of the life cycle. The snake has always been the symbol of eternal energy and transformation. Healing comes by destruction. Healing comes by destruction and rebirth. The old skin is shed and a new one is ready. Yo. Listen, what didn't I just show y'all my snake skin again yesterday about my new snake skin talisman project? I just showed y'all that yesterday, right? This is the first card I'm gonna pull today. The old skin is shed and the new one is ready. Life continues. Learn from the creatures who live in Earth's body. They are both humble and great. They are both, wait, no, I read that wrong. They are both the humble and the great. They are both the humble and the great. I love this card. I love this card. I love this card. I love this card. And it's so timely that this card fell. Now, let me give y'all my testimony, because even the previous card, like all the shit is just like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, right? As a matter of fact, let me pull this book out so I can tell y'all about my testimony. Today, so let me tell you the first part of the testimony. Today, I woke up, and it was kind of late. I was like, damn, I got to make this money. You feel me? I got to make this money. I didn't even sleep restfully because I'm like, oh my God, I got to make this money, right? And so even though I woke up kind of late, I went downstairs, I emptied the litter boxes to take to the trash, and I took them down to the trash, and the recycling dumpster was like overflowing. And there was a ton of cans and bottles, plastic bottles and cans in the trash. And so I was like, okay, well, let me just get a few of these off the top, because, you know, I told you I'm saving the tabs from the cans and I'm saving bottle tops for my little art project, my little musical art project, my little noise making project, right? And so I was like, well, I'm not going to stay down here long, but let me go ahead and just grab a couple of these little tabs and these little bottle tops. And y'all know I'm a double earth sign. So I never understood it when I was talking about, I always take like waste very personally. And I think that that's why so many people, especially with earth signs, have a tendency to lean towards hoarder syndrome. Like my daughter always called me a borderline hoarder. My mother saves everything. My auntie saves everything. And so we have a bad rap. We don't live in a clusterfuck, but we do have a tendency to be identified by others as hoarders. And even when we explain, like, bitch, this is eventually going to be used. You don't have to know the methodology going on in my brain. Eventually, this will be used. And it will be better used by me than up in a motherfucking landfill somewhere. Like, even as a child, I felt like I took it personally. I took like waste and like litter. I took it personally. Like it was hurtful to me, right? And but then I also really internalized, it was a real weird thing. I really internalized these criticisms, this shame like criticism that was always levied upon me by anyone, by everyone, about my tendency to keep things, right? And so I went through baby, when I tell you a lot of internal conflict with this thing that I felt in my body, this thing that I felt in my body versus the external narrative coming in, others' observations of this thing inside me, right? So always internalizing, because we live in the world, and I live in the world as both Black and female, I always internalized for a long, long time the inherent flawedness of myself, because nobody ever bridled their tongue. Nobody ever hesitated to impart on me their unsolicited opinion about what they perceived were my flaws. That nobody ever took care, even in my little girl self, nobody ever took care to bridle their fucking tongue about their unsolicited opinions about what they were experiencing or my inherent flaws. And so this was coming from all directions, from so-called friends, from family members, from my big papa. He used to I think there was, I don't know, but because I don't know that history, But my mom has hinted at the fact that my grandfather, my big papa, didn't like my dad. And my dad died very young. My dad was 33 when he died. And so my big papa always, all these grandkids he got, my big papa got 24 motherfucking grandkids. But he always hyper focused his opinions towards me. And I look exactly like my dad. And so I didn't know if that's what it was, but he was always very aggressive and vocal about me. You know what I'm saying? And so all of that to say, I had always been, up until relatively recently, I'd always been very hypersensitive to people's judgment of me in general, but especially when coming to my place. I have a gang of stuff. I have a ton of stuff. And so in like taking in people's judgments, oh, you a borderline hoarder, why you got so much stuff, that type of shit, I started creating kind of quote a spring cleaning ritual where I would just start purging stuff based on all these people who are talking about decluttering, and you have to declutter in order to think clear and all this shit. And so every season or so, I would be purging, getting rid of stuff that I did not want to get rid of, but forcing myself to quote get rid of stuff, purge stuff or whatever. And so today I go down to throw the cat litter away, and I see these bottles and these cans, and I'm picking up bottle tops and like can tabs a lot because of this project. And so I pulled the first bag of trash out of the recycle bin. And first of all, let me just tell you something. I wish I had I'm gonna go get my phone. My phone is charging. Let me go get my phone because I took pictures. I said, child, dig dumpster diving today in just my little apartment complex. There ain't that many apartments in this complex. Very, very few. I was like, this shit looked like a sickness. Going through people's garbage, this shit looked like a sickness. There was 2 bags from one apartment. You know it was one apartment because everything in the bags was exactly the same. I ain't even gonna tell you. I'm gonna let you see. I said, this shit is listen, the garbage man come every week. So this is 2 giant garbage bags full of exactly the same thing in a week. I said, this is a madness. This is a sickness. I am literally witnessing a sickness in this moment, chat. Let me go get my phone because I took pictures because I couldn't believe it. And then I'm gonna have to get right back up because my phone is literally almost dead. Baby, you are not going to believe what I am about to show y'all. So the long story short was this thing that's talking about you are the keeper of the planet. Remember what I talked to y'all about day 4 yesterday? I said, is this the card I pulled today? We are the keepers of the planet. I literally just went onto a whole diatribe about how we cannibals because of what we have been wrangled up into, right? And that we have a responsibility to monitor our behavior so that we don't deliberately harm other human beings with our goddamn buying habits. And this should say, bitch, you may think you small. You may think, well, what can one person do? What I do, is it really making a difference in the world? Am I really hurting anybody by doing this or doing that? And this say here, yes. Why? Because we are talking about the smallest creatures on earth having the capacity to dismantle an elephant so that it has the ability to return to earth and be something useful to the group. You feel me? Listen, let me show you this shit right here. Because child, and I tell you, I was up in disbelief up in this bitch today. I said, oh my God, first of all, I've been talking to y'all a couple days now about this whole progressive shit, this progressive shit. Baby, in all my years and all the places I have ever lived, this is not an exaggeration. In all the places that I have lived, I have never seen a collection of human beings so utterly, dismally, blissfully, blindly wasteful as the human beings in this city. The waste, the waste, the waste, the waste. I stay perplexed. I stay perplexed at the amount of waste produced in this most progressive city. You would think that it would be a culture of wastelessness, right? Of recycling, of being thoughtful and mindful about what kind of waste you produce. Child, I done lived in Florida. I done lived in 3 cities in Florida. I done lived in Alabama. I done lived in Mississippi. I done lived in Georgia. I've lived in South Carolina. I have never seen such mindless, excessive waste in my whole collective existence. It's stay having me perplexed. So I go this morning, not intending to, not knowing why I felt compelled to dumpster dive in my apartment dumpster for the first time. But I was like, I saw a bag right at the top. I was like, oh, let me get these bottle tops and let me get these little can tops. Baby, I was in there perplexed. Now let me show you why. Because I was like, this shit is a sickness. I was so disturbed by this bag that I was like, maybe I'm telling you, I was downstairs. I even have shoes on because I didn't intend to go down there dumpster diving for a whole hour. I didn't intend to do that. But I was like, this shit wild. Maybe I need to divert from my regular programming, you feel me? And do a full-on health show, like a full-on health episode, because what I saw in this trash can was sheer and utter obscenity, madness. Hopefully y'all can see this goddamn picture. Can y'all see that picture? That is Dr. Pepper zero sugar strawberry flavor. That's a full 13-gallon bag of one thing. The whole bag. 2 giant 13-gallon bags of nothing but these cans in a week. This is 1 week of trash. 1 week of trash, child. Yes, of just 2 13-gallon bags. There was so much going through my mind down there. Not just the obvious health crisis that this presents. Baby, that ain't this zero sugar Dr. Pepper, not diabetes, optic nerve destruction, holes in the blood-brain barrier, autoimmune disease. Child, there was so much going. Not just the health crisis, because this is obviously a health crisis. And the problem is that in their mind, they're healthy because they're not eating any sugar. They're healthy because they're not eating any sugar. You feel me? So that was one thing. Then I saw another 2 13-gallon bags, but from obviously somewhere else, of crushed, the little tiny flimsy water bottles, just a regular water bottle that you go to like Costco or whatever and get a whole giant case, and it's just little flimsy plastic bottles. 2 whole bags of plastic water bottles. I said, Spirit, look. I was like, dude, I sat down there perplexed, y'all. I know how wasteful people are here, but to see it all in one giant dumpster, and I think we have 15 units in our whole apartment complex. I was like, okay, what I need to do, because this shit is crazy right here. I did, when I tell you I did not put the water bottles and the fucking cans, the Coke cans, I'm gonna tell y'all, y'all gonna be thinking I'm crazy. But I felt guilty. I said, I'm not putting this shit back in the dumpster. I brought all 4 of them motherfucking plastic bags back up to my apartment to pop the rest of the tabs off. I said, I'm gonna keep them here until I can get them in my car tomorrow. Because the other thing, let me tell you what I used to do. I was living in San Gabriel, which is about 30 minutes from here. It's on the other side of the mountain, right? And when I was living with a house of 6 other people, it was a woman, her 3 adult children, her friend, and then her oldest son's fiance. Okay, so we all living in this big ass house in San Gabriel. And one morning I got up and there was a little old lady. She had to be in her 80s. And it was like before the sun came up, you know, it was like just dusk. I mean, just dawn. And this little old lady was digging through so we have your green and your regular and your blue recycling bins outside. And so on the day that trash is out, everybody puts their cans out by the road. And so she was digging through the blue bin to get out the plastic bottles and the cans so she could recycle them. It was obvious what she was doing, right? And so I went out there to help her. I was like, her little old self. She was so tiny. She was so old. I think she was maybe Asian. I couldn't really tell. But I was like, let me help you with that because she was struggling to get through the trash. And so I went in the house the next day and I was like, look, y'all, I said, I didn't realize it until today, but there are old people before the garbage man comes in the morning going down to everybody's recycle bins, you feel me, to get the plastic bottles and the cans that they can get out to take them to the recycle bin. I said, they shouldn't have to do that. I said, at least not with us. I can't tell nobody else, but we can take. So I started putting, you know, like the regular brown paper bags by the trash can. And I said, so what we're going to do is we're just going to start putting all the plastic and the cans and these brown paper bags. And then after everything is put in, we'll put at the end of the week, the night before garbage man comes, we'll put the cans and the plastics on the very top in these bags. So these people ain't got to be digging through the trash. They can take the trash bag. They can take the 2 paper bags that have the cans and the plastic in them. And they ain't got to be trying to tussle through the shit, trying to find the plastic and the cans. And do you know that I had to actually struggle with, fight with the members of their household to do something as completely effortless as to make some person who don't have as much as us, make it easier for them to get the little shit they need to make the few little extra money that they make. She got up before day in the morning to walk down to all these goddamn garbage cans. Like, the least we can do is have the shit ready for her when she comes. How is that an effort? How is there any effort involved in that shit? So this weird ass shit we be doing, man, that should be tripping me out. So I'm sitting down here today. I was like, damn, do I need to make a flyer or something to put on everybody's door and maybe say, okay, if you have plastic bottles, if you have glass, or if you have cans, instead of putting them in the dumpster, put them beside the dumpster and I will grab them, or something like that. Because the first thing I thought, I did not put those cans or those bottles back in that dumpster. Four big ass. And I know people kept passing by this morning like, what the fuck is this bitch doing? 4 giant ass bags of plastic and cans. I said, my spirit won't let me do it. So I brought that shit up here, popped the rest of the tabs off them goddamn cans, put them right back in that plastic bag. I said that tomorrow, because I'm always seeing people, especially the homeless. I'm always seeing people walking through here with shopping carts and other types of things, doing nothing but collecting plastic and cans to make money. I said, so let me go. I got to figure out where I'm going to go tomorrow and find where somebody needs these plastic bottles and these goddamn cans to give them to them. This shit is crazy out here. And I'll tell y'all something before we get back into this card. But I'm going to tell y'all something. I keep telling y'all, I keep kind of dropping dimes here and there about this vision that I have for the temple. The vision that I have for the temple, saying it out loud may seem radical to others, but it's not. People around the world are doing more with less. People around the world are doing more with less. The problem that we have here in the United States is because the malignant ass head of global capitalism, global parasitic capitalism, in a lot of ways has us comfortable with unnecessary excess. It has us comfortable with unnecessary excess. And so we become flippant. We become flippant with how we spend, with how we throw things away, with what we buy. We don't buy with conscience. We'll buy a whole giant case of waters, knowing all them bottles are going in a landfill somewhere and not have a second thought about it, not having a second thought about it. And so we are, even those of us who are quote poor or working class or oppressed, we participate. We participate in every way. And because we have, even in our state, we have gotten so comfortable. Yes, child, the marijuana packaging thing here, child. Not just that, I was a bartender for 13 years. The amount of waste used to hurt my spirit, man. It used to hurt my feelings. It really did. And so today I'm hauling these other people trash back up to my apartment until I can get them in my car to take them to somebody who can use the money that would be generated from all this trash. And I was like, damn, maybe I need to make that a practice. That if you have tons of cans, tons of plastic bottles, don't throw them in the dumpster, leave them by the dumpster. I will pick them up. You know what I'm saying? And then I will take them to somebody that can go to the recycling center and get themselves some money off these. I'll make that commitment every week. Just don't do that. Don't throw that shit in the garbage like that. Don't do that. You feel me, baby? And so this project that was unintended, I was like, why did I spend a whole hour? And I know I got shit to do today. Why I spend a whole hour down near dumpster diving? You feel me? And then hear this car fall down, and it was like, bitch, this why. This is why you spent that whole hour down there dumpster diving. You didn't know it was going to be extraordinarily meaningful tonight. I was going in and out that room today like, damn, why I kept all them cans? Nope, I ain't tripping. I'm going to take them cans tomorrow somewhere like downtown where I know, like, you know, like, what you call it? Skid Row. And hand them off to some woman or there's a little homeless shelter right around the corner for me that is only for teenagers and young adults who are homeless and LGBTQIA. You're gonna take it around there to them so they can get some coins. Because when I'm telling you, I don't know how much they given for recyclables these days. It's been many years since I've done that. I don't know how much they're giving for recyclables today, but them 4 bags of garbage packed to the brim that I have in my spare room tonight, child, somebody gonna get about $40-50 off them bags. You feel me? So I was like, let me take that off somewhere. But I'm telling y'all this because while I was down there, and it was almost like a meditation, like, because I'll be getting in the zone when I go to pick up stuff off the road. Even when I was living in the village, child, let me tell you, let me tell you something. I'm all over the place, but let me tell you something. So one of the things that I really loved about Ifa and about the mythology within Ifa, about the stories in Ifa, one of the ones that stayed with me most permanently was a story about Oshun. And so when I was in the village, when I was in Oyotunji African village, I used to go every day. I used to go every day down to the swamp. There's like a swamp on one side, and then there's like a kind of river, but it's very, very murky because it's like what do they call it? It's like I forget what they call it, but it's like where the fresh water of the river meets the tributaries from the ocean water. You feel me? So brackish. It's like where the two meet. So it's very murky. And and they call that Ocean River, that little segment near Oyotunji African village, right where the Harriet Tubman Bridge is. They call the Ocean River. So since 1972, anytime somebody needed to be bathed, quote, baptized in the river, this is where they would take them. So I used to go there literally every day for like the 8 months that I was on the village. And I would go out there, and it was so quiet and so beautiful. And I would listen to music. But a lot of people go out there, people who are not in the tradition or whatever. And so every day I would go out there, there would be like so much garbage, so much garbage. And so I started taking garbage bags. I started buying big giant, like, you know, the brown big outside garbage bags and just collecting garbage while I was out there. It was like a meditation for me. It was calming. I'm listening to my music, playing the car. I'm hearing the river, and I'm just picking up trash, cleaning up the area. And I used to do it so regularly that one of the guys from the city, you know, who, you know, like a garbage man, brought me like one of them little picker-uppers. You feel me? The little shrink, you pick up the trash. He brought me a whole giant box of fucking orange garbage bags, like city bags. And he was like, this is so cool what you're doing. I see you out here every day picking up garbage. Like, why you do that? I was like, I know it sounds crazy, but I hate to exercise, but this is my exercise. I don't want to deliberately exercise. This is my meditation. I get some exercise. I get to hear the birds and stuff. And so I was like, I actually enjoy this, right? He was like, well, let me give you something. He goes to the truck. He gives me a little trash picker upper in the bags. He said, anytime you're out here and you do that, fill up the bags, tie the bags off, leave them by this tree here, and we'll come and pick them up every day. I was like, that's awesome. That's right on. So the Oba, the king of the village, you know, saw that I had all the stuff in the car. He's like, yo, you've been down there picking up trash. I was like, yeah, you know, I like it. I enjoy it. He said, you know that's the Ocean River. I was like, yeah. He said that two things about Oshun. And I don't know if these are like in the Odu, but it wasn't the only time that I'd heard that. Is that somebody asked the other day, what are some of the things when I was talking about Oshun, right? I was talking about her different personalities and how people hyperfix her into this like super sexual role. And I was like, no, she's easily offended. And somebody asked me the other day, like, what are some of the things that she's offended by? And I told them like, you know, the obvious stuff, like the harm against women and children, this and this and this. But one thing I forgot I'm assuming it's a part of her apotiki, that Oshun is highly offended by litter. I said, what? Oshun is highly offended by litter. People throwing shit out their window. People just like, whatever. She is highly offended by litter. I said, wow, whoa. That may explain why even as a child, I'm telling you, there was no explanation for it, but I was so offended. My bedroom as a teenager could be in absolute utter chaos. Shit everywhere. Shit under my bed, stacked up in my closet. Shit could be everywhere. But if I go outside and there's paper on the ground, I got an attitude. Like I was literally offended. You feel me? And then the other thing is somebody is about to clutch some pearls. Because I clutched pearls. I was like, oh my God, what does this mean? We all terrible. Because Oshun's primary thing is that she is the guardian of all fresh water. She is the governess of all fresh water. I had several priests tell me this. And if she is the governess of all fresh water on earth, the thing that offends her more than anything, I had a priest even tell me the greatest, listen to me, y'all, I didn't even think about this until now, the greatest sin a human can commit, listen, the greatest sin of all in the whole of the tradition, the greatest sin that a human can commit is to defecate in fresh water, is to shit in fresh water. I said, oh. I was shook to my core. I was shook to my core. Yes. Gasp. Yes. 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 I was shook. Child, we all going to hell, Claudia. Cry. Your ass go to the toilet every day. We all going to hell. Whatever the equivalent of hell is in E5, we all burn it. We all kicking the doors in. I said, child, when I tell you shook to my absolute core. When I tell you that shit fucked me up so bad that I felt after that day, I have perpetually felt guilty about using the motherfucking toilet. I'm not joking. Because the first thing I thought, political activist that I am, political historian that I am, I said, these tyrannical, monstrous motherfuckers, they did that shit on purpose. You ain't gonna convince me of anything other than that. They did that shit on purpose because they knew the traditions. They knew the taboos in these traditions about fresh water and all of this shit. And every possible way that they can seize the opportunity to offend the mother, they create whole processes set up around how they can offend and aggress against the mother. I was convinced of it then as much as I am today, is as much as the first time I heard it, and my whole spirit felt shook to the core. And then I started hearing all of these other stories from other cultures about the extraordinary high reverence and respect that they paid to fresh water. See, this is where spirit and culture and science meet. Yes, it becomes a spiritual, cultural story that you tell about why the worst sin that you can ever commit is to defecate in fresh water. Oh my God. Why? Because human societies have always settled around bodies of water in general and bodies of fresh water in particular, needing fresh water, knowing that human societies, even if they had no direct connection with each other or knowledge of each other, that if we hear, there's probably several other people upstream from us. And so if these cultural norms exist within everybody about the sanctity and the sacredness of fresh water, yes, it sounds like a mythology to you, but no, it's not just a simple mythology or cultural adaptation. It is a scientific recognition that we all build communities and tribes and societies around bodies of fresh water so we can have access to clean drinking water, so nobody defiles the water because you do not know who the fuck is living downstream. The culture becomes a spiritual practice that is still based on a scientific observation about our relationship to one another. That's all it is. You see? You don't defecate in fresh water, you bury your feces. You can pee in water because pee is not toxic, right? Actually, urine is purified. Not only is it purified, there are tons of recyclable nutrients in your urine. But unlike your very sterile, purified urine, your defecation is horribly toxic. So you take it away from the stream, you poop, and you bury it. You feel me? So that it can be recycled appropriately. And then these monstrous motherfuckers, knowing that this is the cornerstone of the great majority of human relationships, this one thing that we all got in common: we all need fresh water. So don't nobody be fucking with the water. Don't nobody be fucking with the water. You feel me? Be respectful of the water. You feel me? And here we are, child. I said that shit hurt my feelings when I heard that about what she is most offended by. And now here we are, not just us defecating in fucking fresh water, flushing it down the goddamn into the sewage ways where everybody else is defecating in fresh water. Not only that, you feel me? But the entire cattle industry throughout this country where they allow the cow's feces and the freaking nitrogen rich fertilizer to run off in every river, every tributary, every lake. There is not. Do you know that in the United States 100 years ago that you could drink from 90% of the water sources in this country unfiltered? Just 100 years ago, you could drink from any body of fresh water in this country and not get sick. Do you know that today there is not a single solitary, not one, not a single solitary body of fresh water on this continent that is safe to drink without being filtered? Not one. Some of the water has been so polluted from the agricultural industry and the oxygen thus completely I don't know, it's like the nitrates in the goddamn fertilizer and then the defecation has like made the riverways and the tributaries and shit like oxygen deficient. What they call red tide in the Gulf of Mexico. I spent 15 years in Florida. What they call red tide in the Gulf of Mexico is because the Mississippi River dumps into the Gulf of Mexico. And so in the warmest times of the year and the height of the agricultural production, you'll get, quote, these blooms of red tide. What red tide is an extraordinarily invasive bacteria that can only thrive when the bodies of water are oxygen deficient. So there are periods of time where you can go to the beach and you can smell the blooms from miles away. The water is obviously not safe to swim in because there's thousands of fucking dead fish all along the beachway. They'll have signs everywhere. Red tide blooming, do not swim. Then all you see is dead fish for miles and miles and miles. For miles and miles and miles. Because the water, which is part oxygen, the water doesn't have enough oxygen for the fish to fucking survive. Yeah. And so when I made that call, and I probably need to be making a declaration and an announcement more often, like every day or once a week or some shit. You people who still bleed out of your body cyclically, I mean it. It's not something that I'm saying lightly. I mean it. We need to be measuring. We need to be monitoring our impact on the water. Our impact on the water, yeah, we do. So if your ass live near a body of water, ocean, river, stream, lake, you need to be getting yourself a Diva cup or getting yourself one of them handmade cotton reusable menstrual pads. There's a lot of sisters doing that now where they're making the long and the short and the little, but they're hand sewing these beautiful reusable cotton pads that you can wash just like with your laundry. If you don't want to use a Diva cup, get yourself one of them joints so you don't have no other toxic material when you get ready to, capture your moon blood, dilute it in water, capture it to take it. But y'all need to start offering your menstrual blood to the water regularly and often. If enough people go out, take that shit seriously, take the call seriously, and go out to every time I make an offering to Yemaya, every time I go out to the ocean to make an offering to Yemaya, after I make her offering of cut fruit, bitch, I'm pouring a whole cup of my menstrual blood in the water. Yes, I am. Every single time. Every single time. Every single time. If I'm going out to the woods somewhere, I'm taking at least a small bottle of my menstrual blood to offer to a tree. Every single time I go to do ceremony. Every ceremony I do, my blood is on deck. I'm gonna be 50 in 2 months, so I don't know how much longer I'm gonna be bleeding. I was like, I wish I would have known sooner about the magic and the mystery of menstrual blood. You feel me? Because I'd have been doing this shit from childhood. We need to be teaching our daughters right now. If you got babies, if you got 13-year-old girls who are just entering into menarche, Teach your daughters the magic of this mystery that they hold in their bodies, so that they do not revile their bodies, but they actually see the inherent magic of it. And then teach them how to capture their moon blood. Teach them how to soothe their own illnesses that come directly as a consequence of bleeding. Create a whole new culture of reverence in your household. Teach the male people in your house, whether children or lovers or husbands or brothers or whatever, teach them to not be fearful and revileful of this process. You feel me? Like, we have to create a whole new society, and there is nothing that we can ignore, because these people in the inversion of the mother's way didn't ignore a single solitary detail. Now I'm done with that. But this card, and then even this card with the blue totter, you feel me? What's she saying? There's so much she said up in here. Okay, for example, let me do this reading. I'm not gonna diverge too many more times. But this had me on. Oh, let me tell you this, because we still on the crawlers, the snakes. So I sat here and looked at the madness that was these trash bags today, right? Just sitting there, child, distraught. This is just 3 of the bags that I brought upstairs. Then I had to go back downstairs and get the rest. You feel me? Distraught. First of all I kept thinking about seeing all these cans. 2 trash bags full of nothing but cans in a week. I was like, this poor person's kidneys. Ooh, they poor kidneys is hollering, screaming. Ooh, they poor kidneys. Ooh, they poor kidneys. Child. Ooh. Okay. That's what I was talking about, Claudia Ankara, when I was talking about destruction of the optic nerves. Feel me? All of that. Feel me? I was like, ooh, because that's what aspartame does. It destroys your optic nerve. Retinal detachment, destruction of optic nerves. Hold on, let me check something really quick. If it's gonna work, I gotta get another phone, child. My phone has been acting on a whole ass. And so tasks, yes. Retinal detachments, my dear, yes. And so the time, oh man, I shouldn't have got happy too quick. Hold on. I got excited too quick. It's like, nope, psych. Let's see if that works. It is as we say, forever and ever, mommy and I are one. Dang. I gotta check something really quick, okay? Sorry, my bad. Speak her will into the now to reverberate throughout all time, all space and all dimensions. It is as we say, forever and ever, mommy and I are one. Hey, what y'all doing? I'm fighting over there. Y'all ain't. Yes. So let me shoot a text really quick. Advance. Hey, boy, I will box you like a grown man. So will. And we biting on her. What's the matter, boo girl? All right. Okay, that's dead. Okay, so two things. All right, because of the stakes, the crawlers, totem of the stones. So the stones in this deck is about, it's about your material wealth. It's about your resources, right? What do you have available to you to accomplish the things that you would like to accomplish? Have you actually assessed what is available to you? You feel me? For example, now this card specifically focuses on quote material wealth. Me personally, I include your human resources. Your human resources are a part of your material wealth. The whole thing is about, you don't have to solve everything by yourself. The whole thing is every relationship. You know what I call it? Because my mom and my stepdad are always talking about it. My mama and daddy are always talking about it. I call it your human equity. Your human equity. What do I mean by that? My mom and my stepdad are always like, girl, is there anybody in this country you don't know? I was like, what y'all mean? They was like, damn, it's like, it don't matter where you go. You know people. And you don't just know people, like, you know people who like got your back, who like look out for you, who like really love you. I was like, you think that just happened? You think it's just because I got a winning personality? That's all, right? Yeah, okay. I just got a winning personality, and that's why people show up for me. No. I said, first of all, I invest in humans. This is what I mean when I say human equity. I know we all heard of sweat equity, baby, but that's the shit we trying to get up out of. We trying to get out of hustle mentality. We trying to walk away from hustle mentality. We trying to live in a state of ease and bliss and restfulness and play and pleasure and shit. So we're talking about human resources. The equity is that you nurture your relationships. You don't just assume that your relationships just gonna thrive because you awesome. You check in with people. I don't get many calls, but I make many calls. I get it. The world is what it is. People busy, they distracted. But I know that if I'm experiencing what I am experiencing, other people are experiencing it too. And something as simple as a phone call changes their whole day. I have the foresight to do that because I've always done it, because as an organizer, this is how you nurture your relationships. I learned this primarily as an organizer. I've learned this primarily as a revolutionary, how to keep people committed to what it is you're trying to build. How, whether it's a campaign, whether it's a community action, how to keep people invested, because the more contact that you have with them, the more they recognize that this is not just a fleeting thing, that you actually give a damn about their lives. You actually give a fuck about who they are and what they're experiencing. You actually want to know their opinion. You actually are invested. That's the difference. That's the difference. I told y'all, when this shit first started happening with y'all president, I must have got 30 emails within the month of this dude getting elected. I must have got 30 emails from people all over the globe, people that I know personally, people that I either went to high school with or went to college with, who as soon as they finished school, they got the fuck up out of here. I know so many people that as soon as they got their credentials, they took the deuce to the States and ain't been back. I got one girlfriend I went to high school with. I was like, girl, are you ever coming back to the States? She said, I visit once every 2 years. That's plenty for me. White girl. She grew up upper middle class. She's like, I'll never come back. I live in a motherfucking third world country before I come back to live in the United States. That was 2 decades ago that she left. I know so many people, child. And so as soon as this shit hit the fan up in November, people's like, bitch, you need a couch? I had a sister who lived, a girlfriend of mine. I met her in England in 2005. But her family is from Mozambique. And she and her husband eventually moved back to Mozambique. And she emailed me. She said, girl, I don't know if you remember me. I was like, yeah, girl, I remember you. She was like, girl, she's like, you need a couch? You need a spare room? We got a spare bedroom. If you need to be somewhere for a couple of months, if you don't mind coming to Mozambique, we got you. I got a homeboy in Germany that I went to school with. He was like, yo, y'all all right over there? You need some place to go? People, Do you think it's just because I have a dynamic personality? I do have a dynamic personality. But you think this dude that called me from Germany, I haven't seen his face in 20 years. 20 years since I've seen him. A white guy, Sean. I haven't seen him in 20 years. I've known him since I was 15, but I haven't seen him in 20 years. Do you think it's just that I have a winning personality that had, child? Y'all remember I told y'all that I ended up meeting this way Monica Zhu's granddaughter. I told y'all that story, right? That when I read The Great Cosmic Mother, Monica Zhu's granddaughter reached out to me. She is half Congolese, and she was adopted by Monica Zhu. But by that time, Monica Zhu's actual children were adults, and so she raised her as her granddaughter, right? And so this is how we met. We had several conversations, and and I hadn't heard from her in about a year. This was the only way that we talked. I hadn't heard from her in about a year. It was cool. We talked several times. Then, life be lifing. Child, this nigga got elected, and out of nowhere, after a year, this woman reached out to me via IG. She was like, "Look, I know we don't know each other well, but I don't want you to take this like a joke. This, from where we at, we don't know how real what we seeing on the news is, but from where we at, this shit over there where y'all at looks catastrophic." And she said, "I'm not a rich woman. I don't have a lot. I have a small apartment, but my apartment is your apartment if you need to duck up the fuck out of where you at." And I was like, that's really generous. I will keep it in mind. You know what I'm saying? Everywhere. There ain't too many places on the planet I don't have options to go. You feel me? And so I'm telling my mom, I said, my mom is always shocked by it. Like this thing that happened with my daughter and my grandkids, and my daughter's bum ass baby daddy didn't tell her when she got on the plane with her two babies that he was not going to be able, like he had committed to pick her and the babies up at the airport in Atlanta, which is 3 hours away from where my mom is. So it wasn't even like she could Uber or no shit. So she does not find out until she gets to Atlanta, where he's already supposed to be, that he's not going to be able to come and pick her and the babies up. And so, of course, she calls me and she's like, "Mom, you won't believe this. I hate to do this, but I got to figure out a way to get to Gammy's house because my ex-husband has left me and his children at this fucking airport with no way to get home." So I was like, "All right, hold on. I know a couple of people in Atlanta. Let me see what I can figure out." So I call a homeboy of mine, and me and this brother have only known each other 2 years, but he like family to me, right? So I called him. I was like, "Look, I know this is hella presumptuous. I don't know what your day is like, but is it possible that you can go on a rescue mission?" He was like, what's up? What's the 411? I was like, "Look," I said, "my daughter and her babies are stranded at the airport. May's baby daddy was supposed to pick them up. She got to go to my mama's house, which is 3 hours away." He was like, "Okay, I'm at the barber shop right now. Call your baby. Tell her to go to the gate. And tell her it's going to take about an hour. But as soon as I leave the barbershop, I will come and pick up the babies and her, and they can spend the night at my house in the spare bedroom. They can spend the night at my house so they can eat and get comfortable. And then tomorrow I will take them first thing in the morning to your mom's house." I was like, "All right, cool. I'm going to put her on blast, my mama on blast." So he drives my daughter and my grandbabies to my mom's house. And I told my mom, I was like, "Well, a friend of mine is going to take Morgan and the babies home." She was like, "Somebody is going to drive them 3 hours away?" I said, "Yeah." She was like, "Okay." So she was like, "Well, do you know what they eat? Like, at least I can, make them a meal." She was like, "How much does he want?" I said, "Mama, I already took care of it." She was like, "Really?" I said, "Yeah." I said, he said, "Pay me enough money for gas money and we'll call it square." I said, "Okay, how's $100?" He was like, "Girl, that's too much. That ain't gonna take $100 on my car to take them to your mama house and bring my ass back." I said, "What?" He said, "It's not gonna take $100." He said, "Give me $50. We'll call it square." I said, "Well, my mama say she want to feed you." So my mom cooked this big ass meal. My mama ain't never cooked nothing vegetarian. She's like, "Well, let me figure out how to make him something vegetarian since he's vegetarian," and gave him a meal and let him post up for a little while so he could chillax. And when he left, my mama called me and she said, "Girl," she said, "let me tell you something." She said, Me and my husband sat in this house after your friend left in sheer amazement. I said, why? She said, because first of all, he is so kind. Like his whole disposition. He's a big dude too. Like he could look intimidating if he tried. He's a big dude, 6'3", shoulders like a linebacker. You know, he dark-skinned brother, good looking. You feel me? She said he's got such a kind nature, like a kind spirit. He was so funny. He was so talkative. She was like, how you do that? I said, what I do? She said, how do you do shit like that? How do you just get people to do things like that for you? I said, Mama, I said, it ain't a mystery. I said, I go outside, I meet people wherever I go, and I build actual genuine relationships with human beings. That's all. That's the mystery. That's it. She said, because girl, every story you tell me, I'm like, how the fuck she do that? Where'd she get that from? Like, how she just end up on a reservation somewhere for 2 weeks and ain't everybody feeding her and letting her set up her tent on their land and taking her to and fro? People I didn't know, didn't meet. You feel me? This is the human equity. I didn't mean to go on a diatribe about that, but this is the human equity that I include in the stones. The reason it's important to include that in the stones is to perpetually, because see, I talked to y'all about the war of the flea before, but even where the crawlers are concerned, she says here, the last line, they are the humble and the great. They are the humble and the great. What does that mean? That a single maggot cannot do the job. A single gnat cannot do the job. A single worm, a single flea, a single of these humble, small, microscopic, reviled, ignored creatures cannot do the great of transforming the macro into the micro that becomes beneficial to the whole. It takes the humble, the singular, in a mass collective of the one together to do the job. It becomes, so that's why the human resources, the human equity. When I was saying earlier or the day before yesterday, this common narrative, I am convinced, is a seed planted in the collective to disempower. Well, what can one person do? The problems are so big. Can one person really make a difference? It is a narrative of disempowerment. Because if you, you and your 2 giant ass trash bags of cans in your mind may not make a dent, but in your one city, there are 1 million people who have taken that same attitude. And so just like this little terrible malignancy I saw in this dumpster today that had me beside myself all day, now can we flip that and say, oh, everything that I do has the power potential of, everything that I do has the power potential of what? 10 megatons of goddamn TNT. 10 megatons of TNT. Everything I do. Now, if you see the world like that, if you see the world, not only me, but goddamn, I live in a city of 3.5 million human beings. What can one person do? Talk to 3. What can them 4 together do? Talk to 8. What can them 8 people do? Talk to 16. You feel me? This card is meant to empower. It says, from the outside in, people may talk about me, the weirdo, who is collecting bottle tops and can tops, dumpster diving in her neighborhood dumpster, and say, that bitch is a weirdo. That's what the first thing say. It says to others, my job may not appear to change the world, but in my consciousness, every movement of my hand corrects a wrong. I said, that's why this card came down today in this random. I have never done that in the 5 years that I've been living in this apartment. I've never dumpster dived. I've never been like, okay. And I be collecting shit all the time. It never occurred to me until this morning. But I got up all out of nowhere. I was like, I got shit to do. Why I'm sitting down here for a whole hour digging in the trash? And then this card is the first card to fall on this night. But if you are not aware, if you do not pay attention, especially that today, especially now, the humility, the humbleness, the quote, meekness of the invisible will be ignored by you, and you cannot receive the gargantuan benefit, the blessings that come from the acknowledgement of the seemingly small. I got a testimony for y'all today, y'all. This card, I got up this morning, and I am telling you, I didn't go to bed till 4, making jewelry, stressing about this money, trying to force myself to not stress. That's why this tarot card punched me in the gut. Like literally at war with myself. My default self that always internalizes the stress and the urgency of the moment. And like, damn, am I wasting my time with this project? Maybe there's a quicker project for me to do. I just need the clarity. So I tossed and turned. I went to bed at 4 o'clock last night, got up the first time at 7. But I was like, I'm exhausted. Let me just sleep a couple more hours. Ended up not rolling out of bed till 11. I was like, damn, I wasted the day. So I got up, hit the floor, man. Sat up here. I was like, okay, for 1 hour, I'm going to make jewelry hard. Right? Okay, for an hour, I'm going to get up on this thing and answer emails. Okay, but before I even did all of that, that was my plan. And I did that. The first thing I did was like, these cats is giving me hell about their litter box. Let me take this trash downstairs. And ended up spending the whole first hour dumpster diving. And I was like, even while I was dumpster diving, I was like, I gotta go. Let me just go ahead and lead the rest. I was like, nope, I'm down here in it, and I'm seeing the monstrosity that is this waste, and my spirit ain't gonna rest. I'm gonna take this goddamn trash up in my apartment, pop my tabs off, collect the shit off of it that I want to collect. Then I'm gonna take it downstairs and take it somewhere tomorrow and let somebody make their coins off this money. And I'm telling you, I'm about to make it my mission in this complex because it's so small. I'm gonna start putting shit on people's door, reminding them that all your that y'all be throwing away, all y'all glass that y'all be throwing away, and all y'all cans that y'all be throwing away, don't put it in the dumpster, put it beside. I will come downstairs and get it. I will check every day. But somebody can be eating meals off the actual waste that is going into this dumpster. It's a crime. Okay, so that was the one thing. But then there was something else that happened. So I get up here, I'm doing what I'm doing, multitasking all over the place to try to meet my goals. Okay. And just trying to assess where I am at this moment, right? Like today, where am I at? What kind of jack move miracle do I need to pull? Okay, I'm gonna go do this little massage because it's quick cash. Doot-de-doo, whoop-de-whoop, dit, right? And so, but the whole time I'm playing music, I'm listening to videos, I'm saying, okay, and our MP3 of the conspiracy, I had that shit on blast most of the day. I was like, listen, I can feel the pressure, I can feel the urgency. What I'm gonna do is every time I feel myself like defaulting to that, I'm gonna crank our conspiracy. I'm gonna keep moving. I'm gonna keep doing. So I'm gonna answer the emails, book the appointments, post the pictures, do the things, this and this, right? And baby, let me see what Tara had to say over here, because this is the songs, this is the energy, right? With every movement of my hands, I correct a wrong, right? This afternoon when I did that live, and it was quick, because I got to get up out of here and get this money, right? And that live, I don't know if y'all been back and saw that live from this afternoon. That shit, bitch was on one. That shit was powerful. You feel me? Then she sang, listen. So in this tarot card, this is one of several reasons about this tarot card. I was shook. She said the blue skin tar represents the element of spaciousness. right? Creating space in our lives opens us up to grace. You can only receive what you create room for. This reminds us to continually clear the way for grace. I felt judged. I felt judged because I have so much stuff. Not only stuff, I have so many incomplete projects. I'm a Capricorn moon child. I'm a Gemini rising child, especially that Gemini rising child. I will listen in my mind's eye. I will see the way to change the world. I will get started on this one project that I am certain will change everything. And an hour later, I'm like, I ain't doing this shit. This all I'm gonna do. I started. I ain't doing no more. I have so many unfinished projects that I know will change everything. Child, if y'all saw my house. First of all, y'all say this bitch is brilliant. This bitch is a genius. I can see it in a place. But this bitch is crazy. I'm telling you, if I walked out through my apartment, y'all would be like, oh, okay. Yeah. Now I understand. Now I understand. All right. This bitch is a genius, but this bitch is crazy. So many unfinished projects. So I was like, after I went downstairs, did my little dumpster diving, popped my tops, I was like, I'm gonna create some shit today. God damn it. Now I've been threatening to be an artist all this time. Today I'm gonna create something new. Now see, for me, the jewelry making, as much as I love it, it is effortless. It's not new. Do you understand? Been making jewelry to sell since I was 14. So the jewelry making shit, I can do with my eyes closed. You feel me? I can do with my eyes closed. So it's even the new types of jewelry, it's not a challenge. It's not a challenge. So I'm always like, damn, I have so many art projects in my mind. And that's the new way of the future, is to constantly create artistically. And I got all these projects. I was like, I'm gonna create some shit today that is new. You feel me? I'm gonna create something today that is new. And so after I dug up in that dumpster and I brought all them cans upstairs to go ahead, pop the tops off of them, and then I was like, damn, that little demon in my ear was like, bitch, you is a hoarder. Why you took somebody else's trash up to your fucking apartment? Why you did that? All this shit in your house, all these unused things that you keep for this project and that project and this project and that project that you have not created yet. Why you do that? Why you just bring 4 bags of somebody else's garbage in your? I was beating myself up over this thing. And then I had to remind myself, like, no, I did exactly what I'm telling you, that little demon in your head, that motherfucker be working, and he always looking for cracks in the armor. He always looking for cracks in the armor. You feel me? And so I had to walk myself back, like, I did that for a reason. Somebody is going to eat off this trash that I just hauled upstairs today and about to put in my car in the morning before I get busy, to make sure that I put it in someone's hands that can make use of it right away. And I had to remind myself of the mantra that I had been chanting to myself just a month ago. I was like, how did I forget that? There is no waste. There is no such thing as trash. There is no such thing as waste. And I know this is an uncomfortable thing for y'all. Clutter, trash, garbage, waste doesn't exist. What do people do with their so-called waste before organized, quote, garbage dispensary? Was there any waste? The hell, we don't even have to go back to ancient times. We just have to go back to when I was a child. We took trash out once every 2 weeks for a family of 4. Once, we didn't waste anything. There was no waste. We had a community garden. The whole trailer park contributed to the community. So nobody threw away food. The food was composted. Every scrap from every trailer in our trailer park composted. Feel what I'm saying? There was no waste. And here we are just a couple decades later, and we are waste. It's obscene, the amount of waste. You feel me? So I had to walk myself back from that default, like letting people and their ideas from old, like sabotage what I felt in my spirit was like, yeah, I need to do that. I actually need to make some flyers and put on everybody's door to remind them not to throw away, because 75% of what you put in the recycling bin goes to the landfill. It does not go to recycling. It's just to make you feel good. No, it doesn't. 75% on average of what you put in the little blue bin to make yourself feel less guilty about the amount of waste that you produce goes to the landfill. It does not go to recycling. You understand? So anyway, so I felt judged about that. You feel me? And then the other thing, last night. So this is the thing about the earth. It says mater. It says humbly, I carry on through the density of earth's materiality. I love this card. This is mater, mother, matter. You are the expression of all love embodied. I love this card. I love this card. You feel me? Anyway, then what she say over here in this tarot card. Last night I watched something. I watched The Dark Crystal last night while I was making joy. Don't ask me why. Who knows? I watched The Dark Crystal last night, and I had not seen it all the way through in many, many years. Many, many years. I tried to watch the remake series of it, but I have not watched the movie in many, many years. So I decided to go ahead and watch it last night, kind of like, halfway watching. I'm doing what I'm doing. Every now and again, I look at the TV. So now I didn't do it. Maybe somebody else can take that on as homework. But after watching this shit last night, I said, I need to know everything about Jim Henson's life. Who this nigga was, for real. Not just the guy who was the puppet genius. Who this nigga was for real. Who his people name was, who his daddy was, who his mama was, where he was raised, what kind of religion did he grow up with, who this nigga is. Who this nigga is. So maybe does somebody want to take that assignment on? Who this nigga was, and then email me who this nigga was. I watched this movie last night. I said, these people, child, these people stay playing in our face. Stay playing in our face. They stay playing in our face. That movie had me on one last night. But one thing in particular that stood out last night was, you had what were they called? The Stexies. The Stexies was the bad guys, the aliens that came to this planet and realized that they could live forever off the energy of the dark crystal, right? Then you had these kind of monk-esque looking dudes who was kind of like very gentle, and they did a lot of chanting and meditating, and they the wise ones. Ooh, and they would like do that together, and something would happen, and they would draw circles in the dirt, you feel me? And they was big and shit. And the one, what they call gelflings, I think, this gelfling thinks that he is the only one alive, because at some juncture over many, many eons, the Stexies had bled the dark crystal damn near dry, juicing themselves up to, quote, live forever. And so they stressing out because they disintegrate, they get old and body parts are falling out. They's like, what we gonna do, right? One of them discovers by accident, the scientist among the group. I'm telling you about the dark crystal because of what the tarot card said that immediately helped me understand why I felt compelled to watch that fucking movie last night out of nowhere, right? So the Stexies mad scientist discovers by accident that he could use the little juice left in the dark crystal, and he found a way to hypnotize the gelflings using the dark crystal. And when he did that, he could actually drain their life force. He could drain their life force. Not to death. He didn't kill them. He would drain their life force to the extent that they would age rapidly. So they would basically function only as zombies, only as animated, lifeless creatures. And he would drain their adrenaline. Everybody talking about adrenochrome and all that. This movie came out in the motherfucking early 80s, late 70s. He would literally, while they're hypnotized from the dark crystal, and the dark crystal, the laser from the dark crystal is going into their eyes, and you can literally see the life drain from their face, and their skin start to shrivel up and shit. And he has them tap to something. Oh no, he does like a beer tap in the back of their head, and the fluid starts draining out in this jar. And only the emperor can drink it, because he needs to live young and vital so he can rule. So this scientist gives him the stuff, and as soon as he drinks the person's essence, the baby's essence, his skin gets tight, his hair gets dark again and shit. And so once they found that they, quote, had an endless resource that they could tap in the gelflings, by the time this one gelfling, comes to fulfill his mission, he is the last of his kind. They have tapped the gelflings. It was a genocide. They killed all the gelflings, essentially killed the gelflings, because they drained the life force out of them, used them up as zombies until they dropped dead. So they was gone. You feel me? Now the monk type of dudes, you feel me? So the gelfling, being the last of his kind, was raised by the monk type dudes. You feel me? It's worth watching. I know y'all up in here just made bewildered because it was scary and shit. And it was scary to me too. So I was like, damn, do I really want to watch this again? Whatever. There was a reason I needed to watch that movie last night. So and I'm gonna tell you why, because this card, child. So I'm mad watching the movie, like, why am I watching this? Whatever. So the monk dudes raised the gelfling. They raised the gelfling because apparently there was this old ancient prophecy. And the boy, let me tell you something about you. Boy, get up off of her. Stop. Get up off of her. Trifling. There was an old prophecy. The prophecy was that a gelfling would represent the end of the Stexies. And they knew the prophecy, and the monk type dudes knew the prophecy. And so the monk type dudes was raising the gelfling, because he was the last one, to fulfill this prophecy. The prophecy was that a gelfling would represent the end, or bring the end to the Stexies. Now we say end and we think, oh, they gonna die. He gonna get them. You feel me? So the gelfling gets his destiny. Guess where he goes, baby? I was like, how did I not remember this? Because I haven't seen it in like 20 years. So in order to find out what he had to do, because the monks didn't know everything, they was like, you got to go on this journey and you got to find out for yourself. This is all we could do, was raise you and protect you and tell you that you were a part of this prophecy that was going to change everything forever. So he goes on his mission, not knowing what he's looking for. Doop-de-doo. First of all, this kid is a flautist. A flautist is a fancy word for a person who plays the flute. He's a flautist. Has this beautiful handmade two-sided flute. It's purposeful, okay? It's purposeful, okay? So he goes and he runs into this person who honestly looks like an old black big mama. That's what you look like. She a witch. She's like, I don't know, what species she was, but she was a witch. She had ram's horns. She had full-on ram's horns coming out her head. She had 3 eyes, an eye here and 2 eyes here, but one eye was out, and she would carry the eye around to look around. She would carry the eye around to look around, but her third eye was open, and her left eye, she still had her left eye, but the right eye she would carry around. Baby, let me tell you, I had so many epiphanies watching this movie last night. I was like, oh my God, how do we not see any of this shit? How do we see all this shit as background noise? Oh my God. So she says, I have something to show you. So she takes him in this little cave, and he's like scared. He's like, who is she? She's scary looking, whatever. She takes him into this cave. And in the cave is her laboratory. And it's unbelievable. She has the entire, you remember how you used to see when you was a kid, like when they talked about Galileo, when they talked about Galileo and how the way he was able to, quote, come up with the solar centric idea or whatever was because he had, like, you see on sometimes like the little giant clockwork kind of things. It's just the planets moving around each other. She had one. She had this massive room size model of the universe that, like a clock, and all the planets were moving based on this clock ticking sound that it made. All the rotations, all the planets with all their moons, doody. He was like, oh my God, what is this? And he asks her, he said, well, I'm supposed to see you, and you're supposed to tell me what my mission is and where I need to go, what I need to do. And she said, well, I can see the future, like I can make predictions and shit. And she said, I know that you are going to bring, quote, an end to the whatever they call whatever they call, right? And so he's like, okay, how do you know that? And he thinks it's just a mystery because she's just a creepy looking witchy lady. And she's funny because she takes him into this room and he sees the universe click, 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 moving and moving and moving. He's like, what's this? What's this? And she says, it's the universe. Like, very matter of fact, like, it's the universe. And he was like, oh, okay. What's it do? She said, how else am I going to tell you your future? I said, what the fuck? That's exactly what she said. She said, how else am I going to tell you your future? How else am I able to predict what's coming? It's right here. We know what's going to happen because it's science. That was her attitude. Like, what the fuck you mean? I said, God damn. She said, how else am I going to tell what's happening in the future? How else am I going to predict the future? I need to see what the planets are doing. I said, come. It was so matter of fact. I was like, damn, how did we miss this shit? I told y'all before, it didn't occur to me until later on in life, recently, really, about the significance of the conjunction of the spheres. Remember me telling y'all that? How it wasn't until we entered into the great conjunction that happened on the winter solstice of 2020. And then all of a sudden, every single solitary movie I had ever seen since childhood that was talking about the great conjunction, and we treated it like background noise, but it was in our face. This movie was the first one that I remember where the, quote, idea of, quote, the great conjunction or the conjunction of the spheres was central to the whole story. This one, The Witcher, what was the other one? The beginning, The Witcher, the beginning, Disney's take on Hercules. Just, it's everywhere. This great conjunction representing the beginning of a new era, whatever, right? This conjunction was central to the story. Okay. The last thing I'm going to say about it that is specifically, I literally wrote it in this book about the tarot card, Dark Crystal, last night, 7/14/2025. So I wouldn't forget how crazy this is. So in the movie, the weird monk type guys, and every time they get stuck in that trance, no matter what they do, and if they walk in somewhere and something takes over, and then they all stop walking, stand up straight, look at the coming conjunction of the spheres, and go all together, like they're froze, looking at this movement in the heavens, right? I'm like, the fuck? One day they are walking somewhere collectively, and the screen keeps going back and forth. So there is a showdown in the castle where the dark crystals are, because the last emperor has died. He died, and so this means that they have to declare a new emperor, and everybody want to be the emperor because it's not by bloodline. It's like whoever can do the thing. They have a little test, like a little contest. And so they're all like scrapping for who's going to be the next emperor. And as they're scrapping for who's going to be the next emperor, one of the Stexies gets a deep cut on his hand, right? As he gets this deep cut on his, they the proverbial bad guys. They done genocided all the little people, right? The Gelflings. As he gets this giant gash on his hand in this contest for power, the screen switches back to the meditating monk dude. And as they're in a deep meditation looking at the conjunction, one of them looks down and his arm is bleeding right where the Stexies got cut. Whoosh. And then all of it, he's like, ow, I've been cut. He looks at it and then he goes back into meditation. I said, what the fuck? They the proverbial good guys. The Stexies are the proverbial bad guys. The Stexies got cut, the monk bled. I said, oh my God. I didn't remember this. So the whole thing was about this prophecy that had been made that this Gelfling was going to represent the end of the Stexies. And then guess what happened? Because I'm fast forwarding through a lot. Guess what happened at the end? So what the Gelfling had to do, the old witch said, in order to bring an end to the Stexies, you have to mend the dark crystal. That when they came, a sliver of the crystal was broken off and lost. And so it weakened the power of the crystal. But if you can mend the crystal, it will be restored back to its original power. And if you can do it while all of the Stexies are present, this will represent their end, right? So she gives him the missing shard of the crystal and sends him on his way to go complete the mission. He gets to the dark crystal. All the Stexies are around him, around the crystal, because they're trying to get the shard. They're trying to prevent him because they are terrified of this prophecy. A Gelfling. This is what justified the genocide in their mind of the Gelflings, was this prophecy that the Gelfling was going to represent their end. So it's like kill two birds with one stone. We can drain their essence to keep us living forever, and at the same time, it'll shorten their life expectancy in a way that they can't stage a contest. And then we can just work them as zombies until they die prematurely. We can work them like zombies until they die prematurely, until they were all genocided. Okay? So he jumps on top of the crystal. He's got the shard in his hand. It's the moment of truth. He jams the shard back into the crystal. And when the crystal, this like a lot, and it had to happen exactly he couldn't put it in a moment before the completion of the conjunction. So he looks up into the heavens. He sees the conjunction. He jams the crystal, the shard into the crystal, and the light from the conjunction shone into the crystal, mending the crystal. And when the crystal was completely healed, it sent like these lights in every direction. But every single solitary light that like sprung off the crystal was like a straight line. Every single light went straight through the heart of each one of the Stexies. Do you hear me? The light from the crystal shot straight through the heart of each one of the Stexies. In the moment that the light struck through the heart of the Stexies, you guys, you see on another shot on the other side of wherever they at, them singing ass monks, them humming ass monks, they start to disintegrate. Their spirit they become like light bodies, and their light bodies comes into the room and merges. This light and this dark merges together. The monks and the Stexies were one. Child. The monks and the Stexies were one. And when their light self and their shadow self were reunited by the dark crystal, and they become their God self. I'm trying to tell y'all something. When they became their God self, all this dirt they did, you know what they said? They said, look, I know that you thought that the end meant death. I know that you thought that the end meant death. All this time, all this murder, all this brigandage, all this theft, all this chaos the Stexies committed, fearful of, quote, their end, because they thought in their mind, a broken fucking mind, that the end meant death. The end meant permanent inevitability. And so here, all they could produce was chaos. And they used religion to do it. The Stexies used religion to do it. Literally used religion to walk the Gelflings into death, into their own genocide. So the spirit is mended. The shadow and the light are mended by the healing of the crystal. And when the crystal was healed, everything was healed, right? And so he's telling the Gelfling, he's like, I know you thought that the end meant death. He said, but long ago, we, whatever their species is called when they are one, we became so arrogant in our intellect that we thought we could do something. We got so knowledgeable. We knew so much, but so little. And in our unknowing, we caused a catastrophe that split us away from ourselves. We caused a catastrophe that split us away from ourselves. And the split was so long. The split had gone on for eons and eons and eons till we had no memory of us as whole, of us as one. Yes, this was supposed to be a kid's movie. We had no memory of who we were. We had, as our light self, the monks, we had bits and pieces, but we didn't even know. That's why they had to send the boy to the witch. This is why they had to send the boy to the witch. We only know bits and pieces because we are apart from ourselves. We broken. We can only give you so much, boy. This the good us. We can only give you so much. You got to go to that black ass big mama witch with big old titties. This puppet was a black witch with big old titties and gray hair like your big mama. You feel me? She got an attitude like your big mama. She got titties hanging down to her belly button like your big mama. She got the sass like your big mama. She's like, how else am I gonna see the future, bitch? You gotta look up. You gotta use science. You gotta look at. You have to be able to see the planets to see how they move. They will teach you some things. She was like, duh. Like, how else did you think I was gonna tell you your future and what you had to do? And then the Stexy's agents, guess what they did? Bum rushed her place and destroyed everything. Sound familiar? Take your science and your magic away from you so that you do not remember that you already know everything that was, everything that is, and everything that will be. And it is the scientist in you that allows you to see these things, to know these things. But if your memory is removed, you may feel those things and hints of those things in your body, like the meditating monks, but you cannot see the whole picture. You cannot see the whole picture. Or you may be so malignant that you function like the goddamn Stexys, just raking and trashing shit wherever you go. The malignant aspect of yourself. So you don't even have a recollection of anything even good, much less elevated. But here this witch is standing in between the split you. Here this witch is living in a cave, standing in between the split you, saying, bitch, it ain't no witchy shit. Science is the reason I can predict your future, bitch. See this shit right here? Science is the reason I can predict your future. How else was I going to see your future? How else was I going to tell you what your destiny is? I said, goddamn. But when the light body and the dark body came together, not only that, the monks, the meditating monks, and the Stexys, they were humpbacks. They was bent over. Like you never saw their face because they like literally bent at a 90-degree angle, walking everywhere. Right? And when their bodies became reunited through the healing power of the dark crystal, they stood up. And the weight of the world was removed from them. And they were a perfect harmonizing of dark and light. Child, I said, listen. And then I read this this Tara card, the blue Tara. And it say, what it say here? Tibetan Buddhist doctrine teaches us that the Tara loves us all as her one child. There is a significance to this that is freeing. In the realm of the ego, we see ourselves and others as allied or at war. The ego thinks that you are either with me or against me, and battle ensues. This is the part. Peace, for the peace-loving heart, there is no joy in such a way of being. It creates anxiety, distress, and fear, which steals the power, love, and hopefulness from the heart. When we acknowledge that Tara loves us all as her one child, rather than as her many children, it gives us permission to receive fully without guilt. I immediately thought about the dark crystal reading that part last night. Reading that part, I was like, oh man. Because that's the hard thing. The aggressions that exist in this world, everywhere and in every way, are what we are. I just said it yesterday. We are this afternoon. Even though what we articulate is fine, the place from which we articulate those things is victimhood, is not power, is not certainty. You feel me? And that's some hard shit to break with. Anyway, let me go on. I ain't intending to do this that long. Anyway, that's the first card. What was the second card? I'm going to do these next two quick. Told you the second card is also a stones card. Stones energy is showing big in this little pull that I did for you guys. It's huge and it's purposeful. The next one is called Basic Survival, the Four of Stones. Four of Stones. So you can see she's got her house behind you. It's obviously a house, right? On a basket behind her foot, she's got the basket of plenty there. She's got all her little gems that she working with. She got the stones up under her arm, right? So she got everything she needs. She's got a sturdy foundation. She's secure in her foundation. This frees her up some. So this card is called Basic Survival. And I'm gonna just read the prayer. I'm gonna read the whole card. Yeah. No, I'm not gonna read the whole card, but I'm definitely gonna read the prayer. Okay. The prayer. In the beginning, there are many challenges. The pattern of my design is untested. My product is not yet perfected. I am tempted to give up. Instead, I hold on tightly to the first vision that inspired me to begin in the first place. Judged. I keep my money in check, not spending too freely, holding back the reins. I keep waste to a minimum. Finding uses for what I thought would be thrown away. I pulled these cards, did not look at them. Bloop, bloop, bloop. Before I even got up on here about what I was going to talk to y'all about. I pulled these cards, laid them out. And this theme is literally what I've been talking to y'all about for the last 3 days. Today, the day before yesterday, and the day before that. Literally. This is literally word for word what I've been saying for the last 3 days. It says, instead, I hold on tightly to the first vision that inspired me to begin. I keep my money in check, not spending too freely, holding back the reins. I keep waste to a minimum, finding uses for what I thought would be thrown away. And I continue to build, to mold, and shape until I am pleased with my results. Then I shall give it all in the spirit of goodwill. I shall give it all in the spirit of goodwill. This happened, y'all, as I'm telling y'all this long ass story about how I carried the motherfucking somebody else trash up my goddamn stairs to keep in the room until I could take it to somebody who needed it tomorrow. You feel me? The lesson for the card. So this card is called Basic Survival. Now I'm gonna read a couple of points from the book. Well, I'll just read it. New ventures are risky. Make a list of 3 objects you cannot live without. Make sure you have those 3 items. If you cannot acquire these free and clear within 1 week's time, your list may be too technologically complex. Are y'all hearing? I need to read this card to y'all. If you cannot acquire the 3 things you absolutely cannot live without free and clear within 1 week's time, the cards say your list might be too complicated. Simplify. Ain't that what I'm always telling you? Simplify. It says your list may be too technologically complex. Simplify. Simplify. This is basic survival. Food, clothing, shelter. It may be housing at mom's house, or a leaf hut in the woods, or finding the house that is within your means. Listen, I've been telling y'all for 2 weeks. We have to redefine self-defense. Remember me saying that? We have to redefine self-defense. That self-defense isn't just, quote, knuckling up with somebody. I was telling y'all the other night about how me and several other men, several brothers from the Nation of Islam, and a brother who was an ex-Marine, and another brother who was in the National Guards, used to do what we call monthly community self-defense classes. Community meaning we would come together and share skills on how to navigate the terrain in difficult times. So like the brothers and the sisters from the Nation of Islam would come and teach canning and jarring. This is community self-defense redefined. I would teach CPR and first aid. This is community self-defense redefined. There were 2 brothers who would teach mixed martial arts, hand-to-hand combat, and child self-defense. Like how a child can free up enough time by using sensitive parts to get away from an aggressor. Cool, right? And all other kinds of shit. You feel me? So redefining, quote, self-defense as something, first of all, that has to involve community. That you ain't gonna be out in the world if the quote shit hits the fan by yourself. You need to already establish a network. Isn't that what the snakes said in the beginning? The snakes, the crawlers, right? And so it said, let's see, food, clothing, shelter, immediate housing, a hut in the woods, or finding the house that is within your means. It might mean a supply of grains, learning to fast, or just learning to cook for yourself. It may mean a good warm jacket or postponing a fashion splurge. People are at different levels in maintaining a sense of physical security and comfort. Assess where you are. Arrange everything so that you can, within 1 week's budget and time limitations, set up a simple life you could fall back on if you lost everything. Now, having accomplished that, you are ready to risk everything else while you put your new plan into operation. You can proceed worry-free since you know no matter what happens, you will not be left out in the cold. This gives your consciousness the open door it needs to move into your new reality. You have the edge of confidence because you have already provided for your own well-being. If you are already materially fortunate, this period may be calling on you to just budget wisely. Know that possessions are truly important for your sense. Listen, know what possessions are truly important for your sense of well-being and keep the account that pays for them steady. With everything else you have, energize your plan. Get off of her. This sense of security will free your mind for its creative pursuits. This is why I believe we need to start co-living so that we can save money, but Black people don't want to live together. So I appreciate that intervention, Rural, because I love this card for today because I posted a lot today. So many things. So when I was talking about the strategic causing us to forget, when I was going off about the greatest sin being defecating in fresh water and how they made us forget everything, even those things that were meant to keep us safe and thriving. I was watching, there's a girl who's like a silent historian on YouTube. I really like her channel. And today, she had just recently made a trip to Persia, right? What was Persia? And she had several videos from some of the locations that she went to, and then she was telling stories. And baby, I was like, yeah, we've forgotten everything. We have been deliberately walked into a direction to guarantee that we would forget everything. And so these little short, I'm going to see if I can find her. Thank you, Ebony, for the donation, dear. I'm going to see if I can find her page really quick so I can remember. I love her shorts because they're so powerful, but like so crazy informative. And so she was going to all of these locations in the area. And one of the questions that she posed was, how were the Persians able to keep the city cool in the middle of the desert? And then she goes to all of these formations that she called it wind. She called it wind harvesting or something like that. Let me see if I can find this girl page real quick. Boy. Let me see if I can find her page really quick. I love her page because she covers everything all the time. Let's see. Right here. There we go, right there. What's her name? I wrote it on one of these pieces of paper, child. Her YouTube channel is at History by May, M-A-E, History by May. As a matter of fact, if you go to our Facebook group, the Temple of Evolutionary Emergence Facebook group, I posted like 3 of her videos in the Facebook group today. History by May. Baby, when you see her trips to Persia and the buildings that were built in the year 450 AD that are still functional, the water harvesting, how they built these massive, beautiful, like structures to house birds, and then the birds would generate energy. I said, God damn. So that's one thing I want to address, Royal, is, and the other thing is when you say, I want us to get out, I want to get out of the habit that we have of making blanket statements like that. I'm not judging you and I'm not criticizing you, but this blanket statement that you made, that Black people don't want to live together, is not true. It's just not true. It's just not true. It's just not true. We live in a society that has been made very individualistic, but I'm telling you because I've seen it, not because what I'm theorizing about. When offered the opportunity to live together safely in a secured way, Black people jump on that. They sure do. Black people do jump on opportunities to recreate community. They do. They do. Typically, though, when Black people, and I'm talking about in the modern era, when Black people attempt to, quote, create community, there's always some ever-present watchful eye attempting to sabotage said project. So it should just teach us to how to recognize what has happened in the past and what has been a tendency in the past to be more strategic about how in the future we create community. Because it's something, even before I started plotting on the temple, me and so many of my homegirls was like, yo, we got to buy a city. We got to buy a town. Do you know there's over 500 in this country, 500 fully functioning cities and towns for sale? Some of these fully functioning cities and towns with structures and homes that are ready to move into, listen, are on the market for less than a whole house. It was my obsession for a while. I was constantly combing through these. There's so many. There's like 30 cities for sale in Florida alone. I don't even know how many there are in California. I started when I first got to California, and I was like traveling California a lot just to try to check the whole thing out. You ride by them all the time. There are whole like old cities and towns that were built around the gold rush that as soon as the post office there might be 5 or 6 people living there. But yo, this bullshit. But yeah, just Google it. Not only here, everywhere on earth. I love certain aspects of Europe, like especially Southern Europe. I love Ireland. There are tons of whole ass towns in especially Southern Europe, Italy, Spain, that are away from like the metropolis areas, but whole towns, homes, grocery stores, ready to use, completely empty. Whole ass towns. Just Google towns for sale in the United States, towns for sale in the state where I live, towns for sale, boopy doopy 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 doop. As a matter of fact, did you guys know? I told you this shit was my obsession. It continues to be my obsession. As a matter of fact, one of the sisters who's on the founding committee of the temple just emailed me 3 or 4 days ago. She was like, yo, there's a whole city for sale in Arizona. It just went up on the market. Like, we need to own that shit. I was like, God damn, like, let's investigate. You feel me? But anyway, did you guys know that the movie Hunger Games, what you see as District 9, right? I think it's District 9, where what's the name? The star. Where she lived. All the little kind of, they just look like slave houses, just a little square box, white houses, just wood in a square and shit, and it looked real poor. Like all them little house structures in District 9. Did you know that District 9, the footage that they shot for District 9, do you know that Hunger Games bought that town because those houses were there? That town was for sale. Those houses, those were not props. Those houses were there when whoever produced, like over the production of the movie, bought the town and then built the movie, structured the movie around this town that they bought as is and shot. And District 9 were the structures that were already on the property. They bought a town. There's another story about this college kid who bought a town just outside of Las Vegas, and he bought the town outside of Las Vegas because Vegas is the only state in the union where prostitution is legal. So this kid quit college. Do you know how much the town cost him? The whole town with structures on it. He and his homeboys moved in, did some renovation. The whole town was $250,000. As is, everything on it, in it, take the school, $250,000. So he bought the town for $250,000. Then he renovated the structures in the town, and the attraction for the town was literally built up as a tourist town. The main attraction for this quote tourist town was he got licensed to own brothels. The whole town, because of its proximity to Vegas, very close to Vegas, the whole town was to be kind of like a desert oasis escape where males could come and have a good time at the posh upscale brothels that he had built out of this town he bought for $250,000. And they say he made his first 2.5 million in less than a year. Yep. Story after story after story after story. Story after story. People own the towns, you feel me? So they become the mayors of the towns, or their family own the town, or their family you feel me? Built the town or whatever. They die, they retire, the kids don't want to take care of it, goes on the market. You feel me? So yeah, I'm like, that's what we got to be doing. And every time people talk about it, especially women, yes, Claudia Ankara, the city of evolutionary emergence. I like the way that sounds. You feel me? We're talking, and the reason the crawler's card, I was trying to get to it, but I'd be all over the place. And I was digging in this trash, the crawler's card, is because I was thinking about it today. Even this thing where I got to get up tomorrow and go take these cans and these bottles out. But it's been something that I've thought about and I thought about it again tonight. That I've been thinking about so long, seeing this project in my head, seeing this project for a long time. I haven't worked in a bar since the year 2005. 2005 was the last time I worked in a bar, but I'd worked in bars for like 13 years. Okay. And I told you, I used to take personally how much extraordinary waste we produce in the bar and restaurant industry. Right. And so even back then I had this idea, this vision. I was like, man. And then once I built in Temple, I was like, oh shit, like, this is really realizable. This can be a huge apparatus for fundraising for the temple. We'll have many apparatuses, but this one I am the most passionate about. One is because I'm a crafter, I'm an artist, so I'm always looking for like ethically sourced raw materials to create my jewelry. You feel me? And also, it would just solve so many problems that I could relate to because of the style of creation that I do. So I wouldn't call it a factory, but one of the business models, I'm putting it out here. Hopefully don't nobody jack my shit. But even if they do, and they do it exactly how I'm talking about, you know what? I say take the idea. You earned that. If you can build it before we can, and it do what I wanted to do, which is to completely change people's lives, do that. Run with it. So anyway, I told y'all before, there are whole miles and miles and miles. I forget how many acres. They said it's like over 1,000 acres of land and property in LA County alone that's just not doing nothing. Miles and miles and miles and miles and miles. I can't even imagine. Miles and miles and miles and miles and miles and miles and miles of city blocks of buildings that are just empty in downtown LA. Beautiful buildings. Buildings made in the 19th century. Y'all be talking about them Tartarians and how a lot of these buildings was already here when the white people got here, and then they disappeared, the Tartarians, and then said, look at what we built, but there ain't no evidence that they built that shit. That's all the buildings in downtown. That's every building in downtown Los Angeles. The buildings are magnificent, beautiful, and been empty for decades, empty for years. I'm like, we need to be laying claim to these shits. A lot of them could be beautiful, quote, new age factories. So when I talk about new age factories, I'm talking about solving multiple problems at one time in one place. I am always distraught by the amount of waste in the city, not just general waste. Everywhere you go, there's trash. This city is filthy. There's no public like clean up. This city there's trash everywhere. 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 I mean everywhere. This city is filthy. Trash everywhere. You feel me? And I was like, damn. You know what I'm saying? This don't make no sense. There's 65,000 homeless people in this motherfucking city. This city is filthy as fuck. This state is the 4th largest economy on earth. How do mathematics work? How do mathematics work? It's the 4th richest economy on the planet. You ain't got enough money to clean this shit the fuck up. Meanwhile, places in China got cars that drive by themselves, you know, speed rails and high-speed rails and all this dynamic new architecture that's like environmentally friendly, and every building they build now got plants all over it, and the roads like be generating energy. The fuck is going on over here? It's like they're deliberately keeping us in the motherfucking Stone Age out this bitch. You feel me? And so I was like, I'm driving through the city all the time. I'm like, see, that's how we can solve this problem. There ain't got to be no problems. There ain't got to be no problems in this city if somebody else takes over where the city has failed. You feel me? So I'm like, yeah, we got trash everywhere. And every time I see trash, guess what? I'm picking it up. Even if it ain't mine to pick up. They're literally cute little garbage cans on every corner in the city. Big, giant, cute, everywhere. Big, giant, cute trash cans everywhere, but they're trash all over the place. Every time I go for a walk, bitch, I'm picking up trash and putting it in the next garbage can. This shit crazy. You feel me? And so I'm picking up trash, keeping my little bottle tops and boop, can tabs and shit. And I was like, this is what we need to be doing. I said, as an introductory, process, we need a factory. We need somebody do this for me right quick and then email it to me too. Do a search. What do we call it? The Evo something, the Evo, whatever it was. Do a search for the etymology of the word factory. Because in my spirit, I feel like we don't need to use the word factory, but let's find out what it means before I make that decision. Somebody search the etymology of the word factory while I continue to tell you what I've been plotting and scheming on since I was 20, literally seeing this image of people coming together, poor people, working class people, everybody coming together and doing, one day we're going to do a whole sweep of an area. So when we used to do like political campaigns, like actual campaigns where we would run candidates like for the city council or for the school board or whatever, first thing we would do is go get a city grid map. We would eat breakfast together. This is when I was in the movement. We would eat breakfast together, and then we would already have many maps already highlighted, these sections on the map that different teams were going to take. Okay, each team would take a highlighted section, and then they would have to cover that whole section and we would have 2 hours to cover our section. So we would do drops first. After we would do the drops, we would meet back, and then 3 days after the drops, we would go back to those same locations that we were on, and then we would do door to door. I don't know if people are familiar with this language as an organizer, but drops are when you take like a flyer and you just put it on people's doors. No contact, just put it on their doors and keep it moving. Keep it moving. And you cover all the houses in the blocks highlighted on your grid map. Okay. After you do the drop, because that's your introduction, you put the flyer on there, you give them the opportunity to get it, read the information on it, what we're trying to do, and then 3 days later, you go back now to talk to them about the flyer, make an introduction, see what it is on the flyer, like especially when we were doing candidate campaigns, like mayoral runs and stuff like that. What is it that if you had the opportunity to face the candidate, what are the 3 things that are a priority to you? And then we would take, down information. We would write what they say. And then we would come back to the center, compile this information, and this is how we would gather like statistics and ways that we were going to use this information that we got from our area to shape our campaign, not based on what we think in our skull, like what people were actually saying to us. This is how we're going to come up with our campaign strategy, what we are going to feel, what we are going to present as the most important thing, whatever. This is how you establish a relationship. How you establish a presence, right, is the bigger, what we call scorched earth campaigns. So you get usually a minimum of 8 people, ideally 10, 15, 20 people. For 2 hours at peak traffic time, you feel me? You have 2 banners made, ideally, paper banners of whatever it is that you want people to see in the 2.3 seconds that they're going to be driving by you, or hopefully they get stopped at the light and so they actually have time to read what's on your banner. So 2 people will be holding up the banner, 1 person will be yelling from a bullhorn, and then the other people would have flyers in their hand. And as the different directions stop at the stoplight, you have 2 people in every direction hitting every car with the flyer. Boom, 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 boom. So early morning, high traffic, early evening, high traffic, and there you then got rid of, if you are in a very populated area, anywhere from 500 to 2,000 flyers in 2 hours. So this is how you make your grand campaign known at the same time that you're doing the personal work, which is neighborhood work, right? Door to door and drops. All right. Then you can get deep and dirty with your quote scorched earth campaign by doing things like I personally used to do when I was leading the party unit in St. Petersburg. So I was always trying to come up with like crazy ways to like stand out. Yeah, we had our regular stuff. We would get contact from people that we would talk to, and then we would periodically send like a mass mail out, postcards, old school shit. Yes, this wasn't 1,000 years ago. We were still using the internet, but what stands out about you in the midst of all this goddamn internet shit? It's the personalization of contact. It is not just you dropping a flyer somewhere, you actually putting it in someone's hand and asking them if they have any questions. That's what stands out to them. So we still ran really, really personalized campaigns. But we were doing this one campaign, right? And it was about this young brother. I think I've mentioned him before. His name was Javon Dawson. And this child, he had graduated high school that day, and he had a graduation party at his house that night. And we don't know if somebody was complaining about the noise because they at his house, but they lived in a cul-de-sac, and so the party spilled out into the street. It's a cul-de-sac, so it was like no big deal. And I guess somebody called the cops on them, on the kids. It was all high schoolers. Called the cops on the kids, and the cops rolled up on this party, and within minutes of the cops arriving, Javon was shot and killed in his front yard by the cops. So we did this campaign around the murder of this baby, and And so we were trying to get all this information out. We were doing, the standard stuff, flyers and going to city council meetings and demonstrations and stuff. But I had this idea. So I had been the secretary for the party for a long time. And so I was like, what we need to do. I was always like printing out labels for the postcards. So I would take all the contacts, print out all the contacts, addresses and stuff, to put on the postcards. I was like, why don't we buy whole stacks of these labels, and instead of printing obviously addresses on there, put something simple that'll still stand out. Justice for Javon, big at the top of the label, and then the contact information, like the website for the Uhuru movement, and whatever, like donate today or whatever, right? So I started handing out these sheets because it's like 64 labels on a sheet. So I started handing out the sheets to the other organizers. I was like, now take them and stick them everywhere. We were sticking them everywhere. We would take the city bus. Every time you turn around, there's like Justice for Devon stickers on the back of the seat that's in front of you where you're sitting, on restaurant tables, on windows, on the outside of buildings, on light posts. Everywhere you was, child, we blanketed the whole goddamn shit with just little inexpensive. We didn't have to do nothing extra. Child, that shit made an impact. We raised so much money for that child's family, for his lawyer, for the family's lawyer. Like that was a kind of campaign that went on for a long time too. I was like, yeah, like the kind of stuff that's so unexpected. It didn't have to be brilliant and big colors. They're like, what the fuck? Why somebody got a goddamn mailing label on the back of the seat in the bus? And then you read it and you're like, oh, okay. Everybody in that city knew that child's name before it was said and done. Right. And then, what was the other thing we did? Oh, this is my favorite. People don't be feeling it though. I be trying to win it, but I'm gonna do it. Feel me? I'm plotting and scheming on something that I have to tell you guys, but I can't tell y'all this way. So if you want to know what I'm plotting and scheming on, you're gonna have to email me. You're gonna have to email me, and then I will email you something, and then something else will have to happen after that because it's soon. There's a deadline, and it's radical. Like if anybody's gonna call me insane, it's gonna be based on this shit that I'm plotting and scheming on. But anyway, so this idea that I have, that I have actually done and led. I used to do it for my own business, and I was like, we should be doing this as organizers. So I would go when I was starting my hair business. I did hair for a long time, like 15 years. And I would go to clubs. I would chart my nights. I would go Thursday, Friday, Saturday night. I would only go out for 2 hours each of those nights. Each night I would hit a different club. I would only be in that club for 30 to 45 minutes tops. I would go, I would buy one drink to support the establishment because I was only going to black clubs. One drink to support the establishment, take my business card, hand it to everybody with locks in the club. If a dude was in the club with locks and he was there with his boo, his partner, whoever, I never handed my card to the man. I always handed my card to the woman. And my spiel was, if you ever get tired of taking care of your partner's hair, give me a call. I'm available. Best rates in the city. Boop de whoop de whoop. Never looked the nigga in his eyes. I'm talking directly to his woman. Take my card. I don't presume that she not taking care of her hair. I mean, his hair, none of that. If you ever get tired of taking care of your man's hair, please don't hesitate to give me a call. I look forward to hearing from you, sis, and be up out of there. Feel me? And my hair business supported me through college, baby. And but that was my MO. I was very strategic about my time and about which places I went, how many cards I expected to unhand, and I was strategic. Boom, 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 boom. I never lingered when it was time for me to like actually go and just do marketing. I never lingered. 45 minutes tops, I'm on to the next place. So each night I would have the opportunity to hit 2 or 3 if I was strategic, 2 or 3 clubs in a single night, my 1 week of hard marketing on a Thursday, Friday, and Saturday night. So if you're running a campaign or whatever, like taking your organizers, giving them enough money to do the same thing, giving them $30 each, sending them to different clubs so they get 1 drink to support the establishment. One, it's a security measure to, to do that, right? You got a drink in your hand and you're still there to do your purpose, which is to hand out your information, right? And you're supporting the establishment. You ain't just up in somebody's shit trying to do business for yourself and disrespecting people's business. You feel me? But the other thing is, we never did this, but it became an idea that I tried to implement when I was managing this woman's bid for mayor. I was like, look, we need shirts. We need cute, long, dress-like t-shirts, the long shirts that can be turned into dresses, have somebody pimp the shirts, like do the little tie tassel things, but then have, Gina for mayor big on the dress with like the little QR code on the back with some other message on the back. Get the chicks and the dudes, suited up, cleaned up, cute, fine, little figures in their dress, and they out to the club and they got you all over they outfits. You feel me? Give them enough money to hit 1, 2 spots across the city, hand out the flyers in the club, discreet like, you feel me, and be out. So anyway, I don't even know how I got on there. How did I get on there? Oh, because I still hadn't told you the idea. The idea. Oh, yeah. So somebody says the etymology of Latin for factorium, meaning place of doers. Okay. Place of doers or place of makers. Fascinating. Place of doers. Okay, maybe we can keep factory. Maybe we can pimp it, because factory has just such a bad, historical. It's always seemed like sweatshops and places that are like not fun to be. So anyway, this is the idea. We're gonna create a factory that is gonna be to do a lot, right? So one day we're gonna go out, we're gonna clean up streets. That's how I got on it. To cleaning up the streets, just like the grid maps from the city. We identify places in the city and everything that we can grab and clean up from that area for 3 blocks this way and 3 blocks that way. That's how I got on that. Grab it up, everybody grab it up. And then if it's homeless people, get them involved in the cleanup with a what you call it, like a gainful wage, not a living wage, a gainful wage. This is how you can participate. A gainful wage. If you just want to do the pickup, cool, gainful wage. If you would like to be employed at the second step, which is the factory step, cool. There's a way that you can move all the way through this joint. Okay, cool. Pick up. That's the first day. Then we take all the shit that we have collected, because there is no such thing as waste. So now we have to discern what can be used, how it can be used, or how it can be transformed in a way that is no longer harmful to the environment. There's an answer for all of it. You feel me? And but our primary focus for the cleanup is to harvest glass, plastic, cans, clothing, and wood. People throw furniture away. People throw furniture away around here like it's madness. Anyway, plastic, glass, cans, wood, and clothes. That's the stuff we're collecting. Okay, this is what is going to be used and transformed into either raw materials for crafters that is labor exploitation free, right? crafters be having a hard time finding, you know, wholesale priced um wholesale priced um wholesale priced base materials for their crafting that is not tied to exploitation at some place at some juncture in the production process, right? So now that becomes something that we can promote, that it is an exploitation free process from the very beginning to the very end. Everything that we produce is the byproduct of happy, gainfully employed, happy, whole, gainfully employed participants in the process from the first picking up of trash. Another aspect of it that I've been always plotting on since I was a bartender is creating contractual relationships with bars and restaurants in the area where we will have our own trucks, right? Eventually, I mean, in the beginning, we might have to start with U-Hauls or whatever, but we have our own trucks, and these bars and restaurants that we have these contracts with, right? A certain day of the week, just like trash people do. A certain day of the week, we're going to come and we're going to collect all your bottles. Do not break them. Do not quote. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of people will do that. They'll just put them in hard to make sure that they break, right? Save every last one of your bottles. If it needs to be twice a week, if it needs to be 3 times a week, we will come and pick up your glass, and in exchange, whatever, you feel me, we can do something for you, come up with whatever that is. But go into this contractual relationship where they commit to turn over all of their glass waste so it doesn't go to the landfills, right? And then this becomes, and then make that far and wide, where we are actively going to relieve this waste from them, as opposed to them having to deal with the burden of taking the trash out at the end of the night, whatever, right? These bottles become the basis for it. Let me show you. These bottles become and y'all see it all the time, but still, this is what I'm plotting and scheming on. So, idea of wastefulness, in my personal opinion. I wouldn't be doing this, no judgment. But my homegirl buys cases upon cases upon cases of this water, right? I was like, don't throw these away. If you're going to spend that kind of money on cases of water, keep the bottles. I will come and get them once a week. So I've got so many of these bottles at the house. They're gorgeous. I haven't figured out how to get the stuff off, because they don't, I hate it when they don't put stickers. They put the stuff on it. But anyway, still, I love cobalt blue glass. And so I've already got the glass cutter and all the stuff. So cut these, and these are going to be candles. So I've already got my candle making kit. I've already got all my stuff. Feel me? So I have a bunch of these on my counter, actually getting ready to be cut to make candles, right? But I'm not just going to cut it here, make my candle, and throw this away. The whole bottle is going to be used. I'm actually working on a project right now where all the glass bottles, I'm actually going to do a separate cut where I'm just taking the little lid head off. It's going to be dope. If it turns out like I'm seeing it in my mind, this little project that I'm only going to be using the glass lid parts of all the bottles, that shit going to be so radical. You feel me? So there can be different aspects of oh yeah, the earthships. Absolutely yes. Absolutely yes, right? As a matter of fact, it wasn't an earthship, it was what do they call it? An adobe home in the village. In Oyotunji African village, there was one structure in the village, massive. I was doing treatments out of there, but the whole thing was an adobe home. It was built, not adobe. It was storm bag home. It was made out of storm bags. And it was covered with adobe after the storm, but it was built with like good old fashioned, like if you were in a flood zone, you get the little bags, you put the sand in it to prevent flooding. The whole structure was made out of sandbags, and then the windows were made out of multicolored, just the glass ends. So they would cut the glass and then use the glass ends, so all the light that came in looked like stained glass, right? They do adobe homes. There's a workshop like 2 hours from here in Hesperia where they teach you how to make adobe homes from the ground up in a 4-week class. Like, it's dope. You feel me? So anyway, so the factory can function, or have to function, in sections, because there'll be different uses for everything. There'll be different uses for the glass. Like, are we going to make, like I was telling y'all, this girl I saw who has this business in Louisiana now, because she was drinking so much wine. She's like, damn, we just getting rid of so much glass. Like, what are we going to do with this glass? This is so wasteful. And then she ended up building this dope ass dynamic business out of just wanting to reconcile how guilty she was feeling because she and her partner were drinking so much wine and having all this glass that they didn't want to toss in the garbage. And it ended up being a thriving business. She and her partner, less than 30, they were younger than 30. Her and her partner entered into a partnership with one of the schools there, University of Louisiana or Louisiana State or something like that, that has a marine biology program. And the primary part of their work, the marine biology program, is to resolve the serious erosion that's happening in Louisiana. And so she and her partner built a little machine themselves, built a little machine to try. She was like, well, if glass is made out of sand, then maybe we can make sand out of glass. And so they started plotting and scheming on how they were going to transform all these glass bottles they had been saving into sand. And then we could figure out what we're going to do with it after that. And so they started having all their friends. She said, we first started with our neighborhood, told everybody in our neighborhood, don't throw your glass away, bring it to us. They only had a little garage. She was like, man, it got overwhelming really quick. So we ended up having to start renting a warehouse unit, right? But everybody was so excited about the program. Like, yeah, I feel good because now I know that this stuff is not going away. So everybody easily participated. And so every week people were bringing all their glass to this girl and her partner, and then they would separate it by color. They would take and flash it in hot water to get all the labels and stuff off of it, and then they would separate it by color. And when they started, she said the first thing we started doing was just going to the city. So if you live in areas that are notoriously flood zones, you can go to your city. You can go to the city, like the fire department, places like that, and they'll give you sandbags for free. Like where I was in Oyotunji African Village, you can get hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of sandbags for free. So we started going to get the sandbags because we were like, all we want to do is make sure the shit doesn't go in the garbage. You feel me? And so she said the first project that we did was just to pulverize the shit, but pulverize it in a way that it didn't hurt people, like no splinters and stuff. So they built this little machine, then they got a loan to build it better, to build it bigger and better because the capacity was very small. So they built this machine, perfected it, and they were able, and she picked the sand up, the colored sand, and was like doing it like this so you can see that it was pulverized to the extent that it couldn't cause harm, that you could walk in it. Like if you wanted to put the sand on the beach, you could walk in it. It wasn't causing splinters. So she said at first we were just taking all the glass sand and then just putting it in sandbags and giving it to people that lived in high risk flood zone areas. That was the first thing. And she said then she went to the School of Marine Biology, and they at the time were working on a project that was specific around inland areas that had serious erosion. They were still heavily like water, but they were seriously eroded. And they took samples of the glass to see if there were any, to test the glass to see if there were any harmful, unforeseen side effects for using the glass sand in the environment. Once they ruled out that there were any harmful environmental factors, they partnered with the school to start using the sand to restore the areas that have been seriously eroded by the constant flooding. Isn't that awesome? Isn't that awesome? What an awesome story. I love those stories. Because even though all we hear is the bad news, people out here changing the game with nothing. Just like conviction. Like, yeah, I love wine. I ain't going to stop drinking wine. But damn, like, do we have to produce so much waste? Like, what can we do where we don't feel bad about producing all this waste? You feel me? So I'm not the only weirdo out there that is really physically moved by how much fucking waste we produce. Like, that shit is, it's sinful. It's problematic. And so that story enlivened me. I could tell you many more stories because there's many more that I'm like, damn, these motherfuckers are out here really changing the game, baby. Maybe that's what I need to do. Maybe I need to switch my whole vibe. I need to become a news reporter on all the good news in the world. Let me tell you how this motherfucker over here changing the game. You feel me? Let me show you. There's a girl in Australia. She was born and raised in India. She's a engineer. I forget what kind of engineer, but she was born and raised in India to two parents that were both doctors. And then when she got like 12 or something, they moved to Australia, and then she went and got a PhD in engineering. But she said the same thing. She was like, the way human beings produce waste, not only the way she had another angle, the way we produce waste. And then the other thing is how harmful we are to the planet in an attempt to still mine resources. She said there's no reason that anybody for the rest of forever should have to be mining steel out of the earth. We waste so much steel. I was like, damn, I didn't think about that. She said we waste so much steel. We waste so much that can take the place of steel. That we can produce everything that we need just by focusing our attention on what's already been thrown away. What's already in the landfills. We just dig that shit up and use that. There ain't nothing that we can't create from it. So she set out to prove that. She was teaching at a university. She used her students. She perfected the art of, what was she using? She was throwing in there shit, everything but the kitchen sink. Clothes, plastic, everything. And she ended up making like these briquettes, these like sheet metal bricks, faux metal, made out of everything but metal. And she was demonstrating in this documentary how this shit is as strong as steel, but without any of the side effects on the environment and stuff like that. And by the time she had perfected the thing, this technology or whatever, by the time she had perfected this thing, went deliberately to each one of these steel companies in the area of Australia where she lived, she was able to get, I forget how many businesses. She was able to get a percentage of the steel production businesses in this area of Australia to commit to using this technology that she had just created. And in a year, there was a 38% decrease in the use and production of steel from her going and saying, look, I'm going to show you how you don't lose any money. You feel me? You actually save money because the production is easier, less harmful on the environment. You don't have to pay any mining fees. And how a third of the, there was a, I forget how the science went, but basically she had gotten enough of the businesses to sign on that there was a 38% decrease in the use and production of steel in a year. In a year. I don't accept that, Helen. Sorry. I don't accept it. I don't accept. Helen saying old habits die hard. I think that's why people would rather stay with the old versus navigate to newer and more useful techniques. I don't accept that. I don't accept that's the reason. I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to tell you what the real reason is. And it ain't all this shit that we be telling ourselves in our heads. Black people don't want to live together. People habits die hard. You can't teach an old dog new tricks. 99.9% of this shit that we have in our head to just be rolling off our tongue all sleek like is an implant. It's an implant. It's an implant. It's an implant to disempower. Because I'm telling you, the reason that you have the ability to say that, Helen, is because what we're actually talking about, because the other sister said earlier, you know, this would be nice, but Black people just don't want to live together. And I'm gonna tell you, it's not true, only because I've seen it with my own eyes in the modern age, where Black people come together to live in groups when there is an opportunity that they can see, okay, yes, this makes sense. I still have my privacy, but I'm still living in a community and we looking out for each other and we're secured. Yes, I want to do that. Too many places, especially in the South, especially in the South, especially in the South. I've seen it too many times in my lifetime, and not, I know I'm 50, but in my recent lifetime. You see what I'm saying? So some of the stuff that we say, we have to be mindful about what we're saying and say, okay, is this my implant? You feel me? Or is this an actual fact? Old habits die hard. I don't think that's why people would rather stay with the old. The reason that people, you perceive that people's old habits die hard, or that's why people would rather stay with the old versus navigate the new or use more useful techniques. We live in a country that refuses to show us ever the technological advances of other countries. So we still be saying shit like, America, the greatest country on earth. Why would you live anywhere else? It's so backwards everywhere else. And the people go to Asia and they like, oh my God, we live in the Stone Age in the United States. Oh my God, look at all this technology. Look at how far advanced they are. Right? This country, even the waste. Did you know that waste production, not waste production, is a multi-billion-dollar a year industry? They need you to produce waste. I said, what? Child. Waste product, they need you to be wasteful. They need you to be frivolous. They need you to be unconscious. And because we don't see the alternatives, it's not placed in front of us with the same veracity and regularity as all the terrible shit. Buy this, do this, fuck it, throw it in the garbage. If I tell you this, if you saw every day, that's why I'm like, yeah, maybe I need to flip my shit. I need to do good news all day, every day, right? Of all the dynamic, awesome shit people doing around the world, because you don't ever see that. You feel me? Unless you go looking for it like I do. You don't see that. You hear a story, you're like, damn, that's radical. They did that? Or like the little brother I was telling you in Sierra Leone, who was homeless when he came up with his little technology and has solved multiple problems at the same time with his own innovation. I just saw this thing about this native kid on one of the reservations in the Northwest solving problems with trash that he collected off the reservation. You feel me? People are, when I tell you it's exciting, because people are changing the game in ways we cannot fathom and imagine, but we are continuously kept from what's happening, especially innovatively around the world. They're like, we don't need no niggas getting no ideas. We don't need no niggas getting no ideas about how they can liberate themselves from the tit of the Father. We don't need no niggas getting no red people, no brown people, no black people, no white people, nobody. We don't need nobody getting no ideas about how they can liberate themselves from the teat of the Father. We need these motherfuckers hopelessly dependent on us. So we need to show them bad news 24 hours a day. We got to make sure don't nothing positive leak through the cracks. You feel me? So I get where you're coming from, Helen, but maybe if I didn't have my own eyes see in the world, indirect contact, not via something else, indirect contact, these things that I'm talking about they've already been done. They already being done. I'm telling you, every problem that we have, every fucked up belief or behavior that we have is because of our relationship to the Father God. So when I tell you, I don't see lost causes. I know what our potential is because I know what our drive is. Even if we can't articulate it, I know what our heart desires. Our heart desires healing. And what I mean by healing, I'm talking about the whole made whole. Our heart desires rest and beauty and comfort and care and peace for a change. And like, yes, this is a wonderful life. And that's the default. That's the starting point. That's the foundation is, yes, this is a wonderful life. Look at the blessing that is this earth and our ability to live on it. I'm so fortunate. I could have been born anywhere in the universe as anything in the universe. You feel me? But look at this actual virtual utopia that the mother allowed me to exist on. What a wonderful, enormous, incomprehensible blessing this is. Isn't this wonderful? And that's your foundation. That's your foundation is wonder. That's your foundation is just awe every day. Like, damn, this planet is amazing. My mama is amazing. You wake up, you have the opportunity now because of the quiet. You have an opportunity now because of the relaxed nature of everybody around you. To the noise is gone, the clutter is gone out your head forever, and now you can actually, in your rested state, in your peace state, be like, oh my God, look at what we missed all this time. Look how incredible it is. How life is incredible. Like, look at these birds is cutting the fuck up this morning. They really singing that song this morning. Y'all hear them birds out there cutting up? Like, yeah, yes, mama is back. Earth is great. The air's sweet again, child. And I know that shit is real. I know that shit is real. Yes, it is a pleasure planet. I love that. I love that. Pleasure planet. I love that. Child, that might, you know what, Helen? You might need to email me that, child. That might be the name of our factory. Pleasure planet. Pleasure planet. And we ain't gonna call it a factory. We gonna call it, I don't know, like a restoration project. Pleasure planet restoration project. I don't know, something like that. Email me that shit, because I want to give you credit where credit is due. If that end up being the name of our factory project together, where we generating something out of something that has been reduced to nothing. We are generating wealth and abundance out of something that was reduced to nothing. To teach in action that all is valuable. We just have to see the value in it. That all is useful. We just have to teach people to see with different lenses. Oh yeah, yes, I remember that Ken's color block. That's pretty recent that I saw that. The dude who makes gas from plastic, right? Or there was somebody else who just did something where he was, oh yeah, it's like catching on, as a matter of fact. It was one dude, a brother, but now it is it's like catching on, where once it got out that this brother had perfected a way to capture the water, the quote gaseous water that's in the air, and condense it to water, so that you ain't ever out of water, by capturing the air, because the air is what? Gaseous water, and condensing it to resolve this issue that we seem to be having everywhere on earth with water. You feel me? And then Devin Macy, let's see, I'm going back a little bit. I see you, Helen. She say, I understand. I wasn't like trying to beat you up or nothing. I'm just saying a lot of the shit that we accept is a collective like immediate response to the ever present like bigness or overwhelm of what we see in the second, as opposed to peering behind what's being forced in front of you to say, oh, see, it's not, this that we see ain't really what it is. They have to create this to keep us away from what's behind it, which is beautiful. Right? It's people working together to solve real problems. It's people seeing the future in the now. It's exciting, this world that we're living in, and they can't keep the lid on it. And that's why there's a crisis. They can't keep the lid on the bigness of the excitement of the moment. Okay. Damn. Okay. So that is the basic, just the basic survival card, the Four of Stones, right? The last card is also a good one. It is the Fool card in the traditional deck. It's the 0 card. It's the first major arcana in the deck. That's exciting. Because I've been telling y'all this for days and days and days. With this Uranus and Gemini energy within the context of a Pluto in Aquarius, right? So this is the card. I love this card. I love this card on this day. Because look at this card. It's the Fool card. I love this card. It's the Fool card. Or the Seed card. It's the Seed card here. It's the Fool card in the traditional deck. The reason I love this, what it look like she's doing? She's throwing seeds, right? But in this card, she ain't looking where she throwing the seeds, right? She got a smile on her face, like she outside playing, but she throwing seeds, right? The whole energy of this card is the opposite of what we've been told. That the only way to get what you need, the only way to ensure that everything happens the way it's supposed to is hard work. Keep your head down, pull your boots up, this and this. Everything is laborious and all of that shit. And she like, look, all I got to see is that all the conditions are favorable for me to get an outcome that I desire without toil. She ain't got no shoes on. She just frolicking to and fro, head up in the air. Because in the seed, there's all potentialities. In the seed, there was something we read the other night. Is the acorn, what did it say? The acorn doesn't quote know, the acorn doesn't know. I don't want to misquote it, but it's basically saying the acorn don't have to plot and scheme about how to become a tree, an oak tree. Everything that will be the tree is already encased in the acorn. The acorn is a metaphor for the 0 of the card. All potentialities in the 0, in the seed, in the Fool. The Fool is an innocent. The Fool is like wide open to all the possibilities, right? So this is the Fool card. The prayer. All the power that ever was or will be exists in the here and now. I am therefore ready and willing to risk. Here it is again, just like the second card. Whoa. I therefore am ready and willing to risk the loss of what I have been and move on to what I can become. I am the power to begin. The card speaks. I am the Fool, a seed being carried by the wind. I am the first step in the process of manifestation. I am the idea that inspires all life. I am inexperienced, yet within me lies the plan for my perfect unfoldment. To me, there is no time like the present in which to begin my journey. I carry my memories, my talents, my hopes, and my dreams, my fears and concerns in the bowl of myself, just as you carry these within the cells of your body. I carry the seed of self into every adventure. My fears summon me to prepare and make ready to overcome any danger that might be ahead. The light of the sun illuminates my way. By earth, Mother of all creation, I am nourished. Through movement and change, I grow. My path is revealed as I walk on. The exercise for this card is this week. Do something you have always wanted to do and never done. This week, do something you have always wanted to do and never done. Well, shit. Imagine that you are a fool going on an inner journey. Read the instructions, blah, 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 blah. Isn't it interesting that the Fool card, the planet for the Fool card, is Uranus, that just entered Gemini a week ago today. This the card. It's the card. Yes. Yes. So that's the reading for the temple today. Those are some pretty great cards. Those are some pretty good cards. Extremely affirmative cards, as a matter of fact. Especially that Kali card. So if you want a copy of the cards, the Kali card with its invocation or the other cards, cool. Let me know. I will email those out to you tomorrow. Email me at EvoEmeTemp@gmail.com. I think the last thing I'm going to say, because I'm tired and it's 2, is I saw a documentary this morning about no, it wasn't about, it was a video. It wasn't a documentary. It was a video, an old video of Dr. John Henrik Clarke doing a lecture. It was an interesting lecture, and I'll probably talk to you guys about it tomorrow, but I did want to put it out there. The lecture was America. Let me tell you how shit has been aligning crazy this week. So I keep telling y'all the statistic that I heard. I don't remember where. I'll have to find it. But from the scientific community about, quote, how human beings have the ability to access at least 14 generations of stored memory in their genetic material, right? 14 generations. I was like, that's hella specific. How they come up with that number? You feel me? Well, I said, so Google, I say, Google or whatever. Approximately what year is 14 generations back from today? That's what I see. What is 14 generations back from today? Guess what the year was? 1619. That's hella specific, ain't it? 1619. Well, the reason it's interesting is because 1619 was when supposedly the first 20 African people were brought to the United States of America and taken to Jamestown, Virginia. That was, quote, the arrival of the first Africans by white people. And they came, they had been picked up in the Caribbean. So these 20 black people have been picked up in the Caribbean, taken to Jamestown. But at this time, so I want y'all to watch this lecture by Dr. John Henrik Clarke, because I had already 2 days ago was like, what is 14 generations back? Why do they keep talking about 14 generations? So 14 generations, they say it's 1619. The whole concept of 14 generations, specifically 14 generations. Do you know the 14 generations is in the Bible? I was like, huh? 14 generations is in the Bible. Like that phrase, 14 generations. I was like, huh? Right? 14 generations in the Bible. Oh, I haven't heard of that. Oh, wait a minute. I have heard about that, but I can't. Child, y'all just do. I love y'all so much. Oh my God. I love that. Let me write this down. Matthew 1, 17, 14 generations, and then the 16 19 project book. I can sense this is about to be another motherfucking wormhole. Okay. Well, so that was just 2 days ago. Something happened. I was like, oh yeah, I got to revisit this 14 generations thing. What date was 14 generations blue in the past? 1619. This is the first year that the first 20 Africans came, and they were not, quote, slaves as we understand slaves. They were considered indentured servants, and up until that point, that in the United States, that wasn't United States yet, black people were indentured servants. There were already white people here who were indentured servants, and Indian people who were here from India as indentured servants, right? The first black 20 black people came as indentured servants, and Britain at the time, which was over the colonies, had already had a kind of law of indentured servitude, that your indentured servitude would be for as little as 7 years and as many as 10, and then you would be free. And so that's where John Henrik Clarke comes in, because I'm just scrolling through, looking through shit today, and there is an old John Henrik. So this shit be listening to us, first of all. Let me just say that. But John Henrik Clarke did a lecture, and the lecture was called Dr. John Henrik Clarke, Africans in the Making of America from 1619 to 1776. That's the name of it. John Henrik Clarke, Africans in the Making of America from 1619 to 1776. I said, damn. It was a good piece. It was a good piece. I like Dr. John Henrik Clarke, but looking back at some of his lectures, there aren't too many I've ever heard that I don't like. Like, I love the video that was done called The Great and Mighty Walk. It was narrated by Wesley Snipes about John Henrik Clarke. I love that. But looking back, even John Henrik Clarke talking about, he started this lecture from way before. He started this lecture actually during First Contact. First Contact was white people in North Africa. That's where he started. So the lecture went way, way back before it got to, this main thing, 1619 to 1776. It was really good. There was a lot in there that I was like, damn, I didn't know that. However, like with most men, in the telling of his history, which never stood out until I got on this walk with a mother. In the telling of this very long history, where he starts with first contact with white people before they ever came to Africa, and in the whole long ass telling of this massive chunk of human history, there was not the single whisper of a she anywhere. Nowhere. There was not the whisper of a single she nowhere. So even some of the conclusions that he came to, at least in the statements that he was making, the conclusion that he came to could only be made. The conclusion that he came to could only be made in the absolute absence and disappearance of the female in Africa at the time. No mention of no woman nowhere. I was like, damn, this was never glaring. How was this never glaring? So anyway, it was good. It was worth watching. It was good. I like I said, I love Dr. John Henrik Clarke, but that was the thing that stood out. And I'm not trying to give anything away, because the first part of the lecture, I'm like, damn, that never even occurs to people. But yes, duh. The duh moment is going to have you shook. Now I'm tired. I'm going to sleep. But this was fun. And so why I come back tomorrow and attempt to do what I've been trying to do for some days now. So anyway, hope y'all are well. Hope you have a great and restful sleep. I hope you wake encouraged and energized and certain and audacious. Today was a day of days. Today was a good day. I found this cute little serpent crown for, I think I paid not even $5. I was like, okay, serpent crown up in the piece. Now it really got me motivated to want to do my hair. I've been avoiding it like the plague. I got to do my hair. Been avoiding it like the plague because it's a whole 2-day process to do my hair these days. I ain't exaggerating. A whole 2-day process to do my hair. So, yep. Also, I know several of you got emails from me yesterday because I'm starting the slow process of sending you the video links. I think everybody got the Zoom links from the solstice ceremony, but the videos I've already deleted on the cloud and have saved to my external hard drive. So those are taking, they're huge files, so they're taking a long time to upload. So methodically, I will get those videos to you, but just know that that's the only thing that's the holdup, is that the files are huge. And so they're taking a long time to upload before I can email them. All right. But anyway, good to see you again. Today was a day of days. And I'll see you tomorrow. All right. Peace and blessings.